The walls of time are breaking down. You need to listen. The only way to save the universe. Watch Type 40.
Hey, relax, everybody. It's Thursday at 8 p.m. It can mean only one thing. Yes, there are no wrong uns here, I'm happy to say. Well, not like that. Anyway, we're Type 40 Live, your live-streamed Doctor Who show, materialising here and now, whatever time stream or time zone you're joining us from. Welcome. Yes, Type 40 Live hits your screen again in real time with a generous delivery of content and conversation here on YouTube and Facebook. And yes, we're on Rumble too. So YouTube and Facebook and Rumble, welcome back, Rumblers. And we're across all major podcatchers too. As always, in front of a live chat full of friends, fans and companions just like you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. What's Type 40 Live, you may ask? Well, this is where we get stuck in to the world's longest running, best loved sci-fi and fantasy series and the whole Whoniverse around it, both on and off screen, all from the comfort of our console room. And yeah, there's plenty of room, as always, and lots of gleaming roundels too, by which we can be lit to enjoy one another's company. I can't wait to get stuck into it. I've got to bring them all on now. Stop rabbiting, Hadley, and just get on with it. Yes, I'm Dan Hadley, Birmingham's king of the geeks, and whoever you are, we'll get to you in a couple of minutes. Nice to have you here. Difficult to know where to start, isn't it? There's so much Doctor Who, and it tends to sort of pop out of the shadows, doesn't it? Like the very best Hinchcliffe classic. Please like the video now. You're going to be having far too much fun later on. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, check you're still subscribed, and hit the cloister bell to get all the notifications. Ping, 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 ping on your smartphone about everything that we're doing tonight and in the future here with more live streams and podcasts and all manner of things from all across the universe of Doctor Who. And we're bringing in, where are they? Yes, have we got them all? I think, yes, we have. We have them all. We're bringing in a collection of companions to cozy down and get stuck into it on this one. There's no stopping us now. So let's get, who should we grab first? I know. I don't think Deliveroo are with him yet, but we are. We've got Ian David Diaz, the Mega Geek.
Hello.
Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just saw the
what a week.
Oh God.
No, you didn't. Once you've seen it, you'll never want to see it again. This is it. It's not been the best of weeks for the BBC, has it?
No.
But we're going to cleanse ourselves. We're going to cleanse ourselves here because there's nothing like that. We can be sure that when we go into the Doctor Who universe, there's nothing like that going on whatsoever. Nothing at all. So we can be safe in the knowledge that things are going to be completely certificate you and all appropriate. Apart from that, how are you, mate?
I'm all right. Just a lot of work on. That's the problem. Just just have to work for a living, don't we?
You need to escape into time and space, don't you, as respite from the daily grind.
I'm going to order my my Peter Davison soon.
Yeah,
so,
life-size cutout Peter Davison, or do you mean
no.
the thing, the big chunky thing they announced just this afternoon?
Yes. Yes, and it's got. Am I mistaken? But it's got the 5 Doctors on it too, hasn't it?
We're going to come to that later. The children are so impatient. We've got all the details here of that box set. I mean, it's no great surprise to anybody. We all knew it was coming, didn't we, starry-eyed girl Sarah Graham?
Hello, everybody. Hi, guys. Wow, that was an exciting announcement, wasn't it? I'm talking about the box set, not that whatever you just put on the screen. That's just
Good to have you back, Sarah. Have things been with you the last couple of weeks? Because it was the Lichfield Simon Fest where I last saw you.
Yeah, I haven't seen you since Lichfield. Well, I was a bit under the weather, but I'm happy to say I'm recovered now. And I'm enjoying my last week of the children being at school and being able to watch what I want to watch on the telly. All ends next week. But really exciting. The 5 Doctors, and I had to laugh.
There are other stories in this set. We'll come to all that later on, but you're going to get loaded, positively loaded, Sarah, with news, views, nostalgia, and laughs, and all the rest of the stuff that we throw at people on Type 40 Live Night. You're raring to go as well, aren't you?
I am indeed. Let's bring it on.
Yeah, we've got who else is here? I'm happy to say that she's here too. And we've got Queen Charlotte Shields, another Lichfield survivor.
Hello, yes, just about.
Oh, did we have fun? Welcome back, Charlotte. How are you? Good?
Good. As Starry said, I'm looking forward to after next week because I can have a bit of a break and a bit of me time and not being around lovely children.
Fantastic stuff. Let's grab the next one. Who else is here? Yes, the only real-time traveller amongst us. He's here too. He's all the way. He's 24 hours into the future. Well, I think it's about 9, 12, something like that. It's our mate from Tasmania, Sir Matthew of Pot.
Yes, that's what my mother calls me. I didn't call you Matt. I called you Matthew.
Yeah. So how's it looking so far, mate? How's Friday working out for you so far?
Yeah, she's beautiful. No flying cars yet, but we live in hope.
Yeah, well, keep us posted.
Hey,
one
what's
week
this
we'll
thing?
get there.
What's this thing with this term wrong'uns? I keep hearing it, and I'm like,
He's a wrong'un.
what the hell is going on? What does it mean? Do I need a translator? What does
No,
wrong'un
it means,
mean?
Doctor would say,
exactly what it says.
As the
He's a
doctor would
wrong'un.
say, we'll explain later. We've got one more person to bring on in the guest chair this week. It's been, I can't remember when we last spoke to him, actually. I think it's been a couple of months now, certainly since around Easter time. He's not alone, but then again, he never is. And he's here from, and he's got a great T-shirt on as well. Wonderful. Yes, so I'm happy to welcome back our the returning voice of the Whoadic, James Wilson.
Hi guys. Hello.
Good evening,
Hello.
mate. Great
How
to
are we
see
all?
you. Yeah, good.
He's
How
gonna
about
sing
you?
a song, guys.
Karaoke.
Yes, I'll sing you guys a ballad later if we have any time.
So, do you do karaoke? And if so, what is your go-to song of choice? What's the one that gets them weeping in the snug?
Where? Snog?
The snug. The snug.
oh,
With a U.
sorry,
It's my
I thought you
accent.
said Snog. I was like, wow. But yeah, no, it's normally a couple of lagers deep. I'm not gonna lie before I start karaoke. But normally I like to sing a song that I can actually sing, not like
That's a good start for
That
karaoke.
is a good start, yeah.
Yeah, like I want to that I'm vocally capable of singing. So I've been told I can do a good Frank Sinatra. That's it. So.
Wow.
Well, we won't ask you to do that just yet because the night is young. We don't want to hit them with too much of the good stuff right away, James. That's how it tends to work. But how have you been otherwise?
Good. Yeah, just kind of, just finished a bunch of grueling 12-hour day shifts at work. So, just kind of enjoying, looking forward to these 4 days off. And I get paid tomorrow. So, yay.
Ooh.
And,
Just in time.
yeah, and I'm shopping for holiday clothes because I'm off to Benidorm on the 5th of August. So, yeah. I'm
TV show.
Yeah, it's a TV show as well, Matt. Yeah.
So you're off.
TV show, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're off on you're off work for a few days, but the ideal way to start it is a little time with us here in the console room. If you haven't been keeping up with what's been going on in Doctor Who, because even a Who addict has got to take some time off now and again, hasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
We've got it all. We're going to fire it all at you, and we're going to get your responses too. And the same with everybody who's watching there in the live chat on YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. And if you are on Facebook, please don't forget hit the little blue link there, because otherwise we'll never find out who you are. You tell Facebook, and Facebook tells StreamYard, and StreamYard tells us. We all get on first name terms, and there's no awkwardness of me calling somebody Facebook user or anything like that. It's all much, much cozier that way. Should we go and check in and see who's here with us so far? Say yes. Somebody say yes.
Please.
Yes.
Please.
Oh, Dan, you're muted.
No, no.
No.
Oh, it's going to be one of those.
Was that a request? No, I'm not. Hello. Yes, so we are joined by a generous supply here of fresh victims for Type 40 Live this week. Thanks for joining us, people. We're going to have a look at some of these messages now. We've got timescales was first in. Is it Thursday yet? Now, I don't know what it's like where he is. I know he's in America, so yes, it is. It's Thursday, sort of mid-afternoon, isn't it, for him? If you're still with us, Grego, let us know. We've got Glenn Pipers here. Did you all see? Yes, we did. We'll come to that later on. Don't you worry about that. Mark Milford's here too. Hello, all. I just saw the season 20 announcement. I feel 14 years old again. We know. We'll get round to that. Story, it's got me more excited than. He's not talking about you, Sarah. Is talking about the news. We've got Glenn, we've got Mark, we've got Kelly. Good to see you, Kelly. She's back as well. So is Crimpling Doubloon, who hasn't started with. I can't find the Ahoy Shipmates. Has it gone rogue, or had he dropped it too early and it's not been picked up by the? Oh dear. Can't have that. It doesn't feel right. What else? Oh God, lots and lots of messages. Thank you, everybody. There's so much here, and most of them are about season 20. We'll come to it in a moment. Hello, all, says Peter Harrington.
Hi, Peter.
Hello, Peter. Great to catch you, mate. And Michelle Hamilton's here too. It's a very nice picture she's got there as well.
Michelle.
Smiling. Gary Browser, good to have you back, Gary. All saying hello to one another with all the ats. We've got Shara's.
Oh, he's frozen.
He's gone
It's
silent.
really going to be one of those nights.
It really
Yeah.
is.
Gone silent.
Hi,
I've-
Shah.
I've gone silent.
Oh, you're
No,
back.
you froze for a second.
Oh,
Okay,
you went-
quiet.
it's not showing this end, but it just doesn't matter.
Everybody else is moving except for you.
Evening all, says Gregory Jones. Evening, Gregory. New name. Don't recognise that one. And we have a Jack Hardy. Oh yes, I know who that is. Jack Hardy with Ahoy Shipmates. He's brought in the Ahoy Shipmates, and we finally have our Ahoy.
Yay!
Got an Ahoy. From Crimpling Doubloon. The chat. See, this is how you know it's going to be a good one. The chat is jumping away. It's great for you guys. Harder to keep track of for me. Woodhouse122 says evening all. Evening to you too. And Time Lord Victorious asks a very simple question here, James. Hello, would you like a jelly baby? Do you like jelly babies, James?
Do I what? Sorry.
Do you like jelly babies? Are they?
Of course I do. You can't be a
stable.
Doctor Who fan or a fan of the Fourth Doctor without liking jelly babies. Feel like you'd piss off Tom Baker right away if you don't like them, to be honest.
Yeah. They haven't been superseded by fish fingers and custard.
Well, I actually tried fish fingers and custard. Not so bad, actually, but jelly babies are still better.
There we go.
Do we know what sex they are?
The jelly babies.
Jelly babies are. Yeah.
Sometimes they're wearing little waistcoats, aren't they?
Oh, are they now?
Yeah. Tunes, says Richard Brooks. Oh, that's why. God, all these comments, we barely even started. The Meta Whovians here too with a hello. And Father Miller's here too. He's saying hello to everybody.
Hi, Father Miller.
Hi,
Good to
Father.
see you.
We have Wendy from the Department of Windology.
Wen.
And you, Wendy.
And I'm happy to say that Adam's here too. The Geeks Handbag.
Hi, Adam.
He's here, accessorising
Adam.
as always. Good to have you back, mate. It's got lots from you there,
Gang's all
Sarah.
here.
And the Sodor Engines is there with an evening, everyone. Almost everyone. We are down one, Mr. Simon Horton. He's out on manoeuvres. He's at large in the community. And he may be back next week, but he may not. We're not entirely sure what's going on with Simon, but he'll be back. He'll be back in time. He'll be back in time. Hello. Hey, cheers. Nice to see you all too, says Adam. Hello all, says Mike, a.k.a. Clobby, a.k.a. Clobbering Times. Haven't seen Mike in for a little while. Good to have you back, mate. And we have Gary Browse with Dan the man. Thank you. Word gets around. The round things. I love the round things, says Michelle. I think she's talking about these round things. These, yeah, those there. I really like these because they actually went to the trouble of lighting them for the Five Doctors.
Yes. And they look amazingly. Oh, isn't that a beautiful console? I know you talked about this last week with Simon and everybody, but yeah, it really is.
I just love it where he's polishing it.
Yes.
Yeah, great. Hi, everyone from Lord Thoth.
Hi, Lord Thoth.
Hello.
He says he's on vacation, so maybe intermittent. So he may be having trouble getting his signal through there. But we'll take what we can get, Lord Thoth. We'll take whatever you can deliver. We have Darren Zones here too. He's very excited about the new Blu-rays, and so is everybody else. Hello, Matthew. Avon lives, says Lord Thoth. Wrong show, but always welcome here. And Adam adds to your confusion, Matthew, with wrong-uns. Hello,
is that
James.
like a nonce?
Yeah, yeah. Can we say nonce on YouTube?
No, you
don't
can't.
No, I have no idea anymore. No idea. Peter Harrington
Matt,
says,
just don't think of any words.
This isn't going to air.
Sorry.
I think this is not going to go out.
I'm still learning my English vocabulary.
Don't test it on the live stream then.
I think we should be fine. We're definitely fine on Rumble. I'll be fine with that. James, rock on, dude, says Meta Whovian.
Thank you.
No one told me what it meant.
We'll explain later.
Okay. That bad.
No, not really. Well, it means what you think it means. It's if somebody's a wrong one, they're a wrong one. They're not a right one.
Oh,
they're
right, okay.
in the wrong. Yes. Ahoy, shipmates. Say! Got it in full there. Check Dan's pulse, says the timescast. 40%. We haven't got to the picture of Sarah Sutton yet. You may have to check my pulse then. Evening Space Bookers. Hello. What's going on here? Asks the Thin King. Lots going on, Thin King. So stay tuned. We've got a lot to get stuck into. Obviously, this is the 60th anniversary year. You'd never know it, though, from the way the BBC are carrying on with the way they're publicising or not publicising the 60th anniversary year of Doctor Who. We've had a few little nuggets, and we have this little graphic here reminding us who's coming up in the special later this year. But that has been it. And there were people reading into even this graphic. Now, because the 6 little glyphs there on this image, Ian, people were thinking, well, that must mean that we're going to get a trailer on the 6th of August. Or so it's like it's going to be people trying to decode this, but I don't think this is anything. I think this is just them thinking, well, we can't actually show them anything. Just throw out a new graphic. It's nice enough, I suppose, but there's not really that much to see. At least when we talk about all the stuff that's going on with the BBC, though, and the stuff with the notorious wrong-un, at least we can rely on one person, Ian, to put a smile on all our faces. And even yours, my friend, even yours. And it's this guy. It's this guy, Matt Smith.
Oh,
Yay!
Everyone, I think everybody loves Matt Smith.
Nice girls he's with too.
They're lovely girls. Well,
yeah, in the show,
go on,
isn't
Ian.
she?
Who are they, Ian? Go on, you tell us, mate.
I don't know, but I know they're. Are they in the show or were they in
Yeah.
Sarah? Yeah, they're in the show, right?
Yeah, that's right.
I like
So
Matt
this is
Smith.
Matt Smith back. He was back in London this last weekend for the 7th, 8th and 9th of July. And he was at the London Film and Comic Con at Olympia. And whilst he was there doing the signing and all the usual kind of stuff that they do, I mean, not only does he look somewhat sweaty, I think they've been working him all day, but he took the time to catch up with his on-screen daughter there, a couple of co-stars from the fantastic series House of the Dragon. And as we know, Matt Smith is very, very good with children in particular, isn't he? I think that even if they weren't around Charlotte for when he was the Doctor, kids just gravitate towards this man, don't they? Have you noticed?
Oh yeah, because his Doctor was suited perfectly. He had that inner child. He had that Peter Pan isms in the best way. The boy never grew up, and I think also he's got that air of always listening. That's what also I got with his Doctor. His Doctor would always listen to you. And I think kids just naturally gravitate towards that.
You mean he'd take as much time to listen to children as he would to adults? Sorry, James.
Yeah, he wouldn't talk down to them. He would give them just as much as attention, even more. I think sometimes his Doctor, very much so.
Plus, he can speak baby as well. So there you go.
James?
I think it's the chin, personally. I think they're just fascinated by the chin. I would be.
There's nothing wrong with his chin. God's sake.
You know who always reminds me of? That guy, the famous comedian. What's his name?
He's so famous, you can't remember his name.
Jim Carrey?
No, the one that died on stage. He used to wear a...
Tommy Cooper.
Yeah. Well, he even had the
You could play Tommy Cooper if they did or did they do a
Yeah, that'd be
show?
fantastic, wouldn't it?
When I was a kid, I always thought he looked like an Easter Island head.
And Easter
Tommy
Island.
Cooper or Matt?
Well, we've got a little video of Matt Smith where he's it's been. Have we got the video? We got the video?
Have we?
No, I don't think we have. Okay, maybe not. Well, we did have a video of Matt Smith signing autographs and stuff for kids, and they were all coming up to him wearing fezzes and bow ties and tweed jackets and all that kind of thing. And it's amazing that his incarnation of the character, I think, has endured so much over the last 13 years. I think there's the hunger for him to come back to this role. I think it's actually getting more and more and more, Sarah.
Yeah, I really think it is. And obviously he's very much in the news right now, being in House of the Dragon and Morbius. Whatever you think of Morbius, he was really good in it. And yeah, it's people are nostalgic. And he left too soon, and I think he even admits it. He was gone far too soon, and I really think he feels it. And he's still got that connection to the show. I remember watching that interview he did, where he was asked what he would rather do. Was it more movies or Doctor Who? And he just automatically went Doctor Who. Didn't even have to think about it. So I think he's missing us as much as we're missing him. Maybe not as much as Charlotte, but
we might be getting him. And I mean, there's a rumor that he's going to be playing Mr. Fantastic, isn't he, in Fantastic Four? So we might be getting him in Fantastic Four. So
that'd be excellent casting.
Yeah.
Be out there casting, but good, like out the box casting. I like that. Yeah.
I honestly can't believe that it's this Christmas been 10 years since he left.
Yeah.
Oh, has it been that long?
Yeah.
It's been a decade since he left this Christmas. Yeah. I can't believe it. Like it feels like
he is one of the best. I don't care what anyone says. He's one of the best Doctors, and I really enjoyed his tenure when he was on.
Yeah, no, I loved him. Yeah.
We're growing a little impatient, James, for any news of the 60th anniversary. I mean, I don't expect them to tell us every secret that they've been keeping from us, but it would be nice to have a hint at somebody, even if it wasn't a confirmation, wouldn't it? And Matt Smith would be a prime example. He's the person I think that people want to see back more than anybody else.
Yeah, because he has made almost no appearances really as the Doctor. I don't think he's done any Big Finish audios, has he?
No, because they've got a very good sound alike for Matt, so they don't really need him.
I hope he doesn't.
Did they even bother asking him? I bet he'd be brokenhearted to find out that they've just used a sound alike instead of.
No, he doesn't. But Big Finish isn't. I don't ever consider Big Finish part of Doctor Who anyway. So,
Well,
if he doesn't do it, that's great for him. He doesn't need the money. He's a big star now. So you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, definitely he's doing well, but I think that I'm just desperate to see him again because it's been so long since I've seen him. You know, like the very last time I saw him was when he made that phone call in Deep Breath, and I thought the last time I saw him was during the sneeze regeneration when he sneezed into Peter Capaldi.
But that was the best thing about Deep Breath, wasn't it? Him, as far as I was concerned. I hated that episode. I mean, totally hated it.
Yeah, Peter Capaldi was great in that, but I thought the Matt Smith cameo was great, and that was rumored for ages. In fact, it was leaked pretty much, and I was just like, oh my god, is that really going to happen? And then it happened, and I was like, oh my god,
tell me I'm not old, please tell me I'm not old.
No idea that was going to happen. Psychic Speech says here, watching on YouTube, I actually think I would have preferred it if it was him and Amy in the 60th instead of Tennant and Tate. We've got double thumbs up there from the Mega Geek. I suppose that a lot of people who would have grown up with Matt Smith would have felt the same, or if he's your favourite. It's understandable to want your favourite back, isn't it, Charlotte?
Oh yes, very much so. But I think it's like what James was saying though. He was so young when he started in the role. He was sort of at the beginning of his acting journey. I know he'd done roles before, but Doctor Who was the big break. So, and he's just so much wiser now and older, just in this craft. Yeah. It's like if you watch him in House of the Dragon, he just steals every scene he's in.
He's amazing. Even the scenes that he's not in, you're thinking about what that character is doing. It's incredible performance.
Yeah, but what I love about it in that show, you can see the maturity in him, that he's at age, like I said, he's wiser now. And the fact that there's a whole scene where there's no dialogue and he completely improvised it, we learned after the fact with the throne room scene. You just think that's an actor who's really knows what he's doing. And just to have that back in the show would be brilliant.
Really connected to his character.
I've just got to mention, sort of echoing what you were saying there, that a scene that comes to my mind is in Day of the Doctor, when he's an actor that is much younger than every other Doctor in the room. You know, you've got David Tennant there, who's older than him by 12, 13 years or so. And then you've also got John Hurt as well, acting legend. At the time was probably in his 70s or something. And honestly, what amazed me was that Matt Smith managed to act older than all of them. I believed that he was a centuries older Doctor than the other two. So I thought that was brilliant.
He even held his own against Tom Baker, and not many people can do that.
No,
it's just the small things that make him look old. Like when he was looking at the glass, he was looking at it like he couldn't see too well. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I look at the shatter pattern. He was doing all that kind of thing. It's the way he holds himself that kind of brings across how old he really is inside. Do you know what I mean? It's a great performance all across the board as far as I'm concerned. He's a really good actor.
Cyber Matt Strikes says here, Ian, Matt and Karen can be the stars of the 70th anniversary if they're not in this one, being as they're so young. Yeah. I think that may well happen. I mean, Karen Gillan, obviously she's doing really, really well, but I think we're all willing Matt Smith. He's not had the best of times in the movies, but there is a chance that an actor that's as good as he is can save the MCU, I think, because it is in a terrible state. If they do manage to get him to play Reed Richards in the Fantastic Four, I know that he'll be a great fit for that part, and he's the kind of actor they should be getting on board to bring that franchise round from the disaster that it's shaping up to be. And this week, our 15th Doctor, he's been shaping up too, and he's been running around all over the country in various states of undress. But in the case of this particular one, he was fully clothed when he was filming series 14 of Doctor Who. So they're still out there filming, Ian. In fact, I think it's the last week, the final week next week for filming on series 14. So he was in the glamorous location of Barry Island. He was on Barry Island.
The Gavin and Stacey crossover we all wanted.
God, no. Barry Island, yeah.
Well, I think he was originally up for one of the parts in Gavin and Stacey. I think he was going to play Dirtbox originally, but because he'd worked with James Corden before, hadn't he? But they went with another actor, or Matt couldn't do it. I think Matt was doing Party Animals at the time, so he was almost in Gavin and Stacey. But yeah, they've been running around. Yeah, back to Shooty and Millie. They were seen in fact, you can just see the back of him there in Barry Island, putting the finishing touches to series 14. And we were served one brand new photo as well of the finishing touch to the 15th Doctor's outfit. This is brand new. We hadn't seen this before this week. So his original ensemble there, the plaid outfit with the orange jumper, it's been set off beautifully there with this kind of golden umber hat there, brimmed hat. Now,
Christmas.
are you... Who's to quote the Fifth Doctor? It's going to be a bit of a theme with the Fifth Doctor tonight. To quote the Fifth Doctor, are any of you hat people? Where do you stand on hats? I know that Matt is, but you favour the beanie, don't you?
I love beanies. I do. Look, hats are hats. They're iconic in some regards. They have a great silhouette, and for a designer and that, they're an absolute nightmare to draw. But other than that, I mean, I last time I went to America and that, I was just buying hats left, right, and center, and not another bloody hat. Have you got another hat? You got another head for that, So yeah, I love a hat, and I don't know if is that a fedora? What sort of hat is that? Because it looks like a fedora.
We don't get a very, very good look at it. It is I was trying
It's
to
not straw.
No, it's definitely not straw.
Yeah.
It looks kind of felt, but it has got the hint of the 10-gallon about. I think he would be a very big fan of it. I think he would approve of it.
Oh, 10-gallon hat, yeah.
Yeah, we get a tip of the brim there from the big guy himself. But yeah, I do think this kind of sets that outfit off nicely, particularly the colours. And personally, I like this look. I like some of the looks for the 15 Doctors so far, and this one does remind me a little bit of the one that the original Doctor. I think he sported this in the the Chase where he was wearing this.
That'd be gunfighters, wouldn't it?
No, that was a proper Western. Cowboys. Yeah, that was a proper Western thing. Look in that, I think he looks a little bit more relaxed in this. I wouldn't. Yeah, as if he's going off on a holiday,
hasn't it, Dan? Christmas decorations in the background, yeah.
That's right. Yeah, he's wearing that. It looks like it's at Christmas. But this has the look of the man from Del Monte about it, I think, Ian. That's why I like it.
You say yay.
I actually do like it. I think it suits him. And I like it with the coat. Definitely like this.
I'll tell you which Doctor wore a fantastic hat. That was Matt Smith. Matt Smith. He wore that really well.
I was going to say, Matt's, which one was it? Impossible Astronaut two-parter. He had a hat very similar to that, like a bit more cowboy-y, but it was a similar-ish hat.
I knew I could rely on the people in the live chat here on YouTube and Rumble. We have people correcting me. It's not the Chase, it's the Daleks Master Plan. So there we are. That's where the first Doctor wore that cream hat. We have Gary Browser, Dr. Once. Hi, Dr. Once. That's an intriguing name. Dr. Once. A big hat finish. The hat is felt, says the Timescale. Says that very confidently. And Father Miller says that's not a fedora, Matt. It's not a fedora. Jackety says, I'm surprised that Phil Collinson has allowed the hat. He vetoed hats during Russell T Davies' first run. Did he really?
Really? I didn't know that. Interesting.
You learn something new every day in the Doctor Who universe, don't you, Sarah? Carry on, cowboy. Cautions, crimpling doubloon. It could be. It could be. The picture. I want that hat, says Shah. He looks like he's ready for a duel. Oh, some people do. Yeah, obviously Shah thinks it's kind of Western-ish.
I think it's Western. That's what's giving me the vibes of.
So there were original design drawings that, we know what people are like when they put out things on social media. Shooty is a big Instagram user, and he has taken the odd picture and popped it out there. And there were concept drawings and pictures of him with a hat in some of those. So people were expecting a hat, James, but when it finally appeared, I think that people were a little bit surprised that it didn't look quite as formidable. It looks more floppy, I think. It looks like it's got a certain amount of the Fourth Doctor's flop to it.
Yeah, it adds to the long, lustrous history of the Doctor's famous headwear, doesn't it? I mean, the Doctor's, I think, pretty much worn every hat that's out there. Even a historically inaccurate Viking helmet for Doctor War in his first story. So I think that the Doctor definitely loves a good piece of head fashion, I think. So yeah, it looks really cool on him, I think, and it just everything that I've been seeing, just like him running about and everything that I've seen, filming videos and photos and stuff, just oh my god, making me so excited.
I'm glad to hear it. Side Matt Strikes doesn't like it though, so it's not going down that as well with everybody. Side Matt Strikes is definite no. We've got Jack, and he says this is the best of his costumes, but that's not saying much. And Psychic Beats says this is the best look for 15 so far. The best look for 15 so far is the one he wore filming the Christmas episode. He should keep that one for the whole time. Yeah, it's hard. I think it's hard to know until we properly see him in action, see how comfortable he looks in them, moving about in them. But I do know what you mean. I think that could be. I like the long leather coat as well. So yeah, the jury's out on hats, and Peter Harrington says that it needs corks. Matt, it needs corks.
Yeah, if you're in Australia, do you know what the corks are for? Does anyone know what the corks are for?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Don't fill us in.
I can tell you because I am Australian, so I am still learning.
Are you?
But I'll teach you something. But
yes, please.
Corks are there to swat the flies away.
Oh,
of
so you move
course
about.
it is.
Yeah, so they move around everywhere you go, so they swat the flies, so you don't get flies in your face.
Getting education every time here
Well,
at
you
Type
know.
40
So
Live.
do I.
That's quite tame for some of Shooty's fashion choices. The fashion police aren't on him for that, but they will be later. Stay tuned for more from Type 40 Live later on, and we'll fill you in on everything else that Shooty's been wearing. It really has been a hell of a week for him and his stylists, if he has such a thing. I'm not entirely convinced that he does, so stick around for that. And I've got to remind you as well that you have to get in with this, because we've got some brand new podcasts up on the home feed at type40.podbean.com. So just dropped has been the audio edition of episode 131. That was a return trip, the third return trip from Alex Storer and John Collier, the authors of those fantastic ebooks about the Doctor Who exhibitions from years gone by. So this is the third time we've spoken to them. So Simon and I, we got them in for Blackpool Remembered, then they came back for Blackpool Revisited, and they've just published Longing for Longleat. So that's out. We get them in for another conversation where they explain about the entire process behind the research and the collating of facts and pictures and everything else that's gone in to those fantastic unmissable ebooks. So look for that at type40.podbean.com and go back and get all the past episodes as well, or find us on the podcatcher of your choice. Whilst here on the channel, we've got both editions now up of Type 40 Extra, my conversation with Will Hadcroft about his life growing up as a Doctor Who fan and getting statemented on the autistic spectrum in his adult life too, and how he believes that was a generally very positive thing for him, and how he's fueled his creativity with all of these experiences, both within the Doctor Who universe and with the various challenges that have affected his life. So a very generous and very candid interview there with the author Will Hadcroft. Go and watch those too, and like them. So you like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the cloister bell to get all the notifications about all of that and more of this. Why do we do it all, Sarah? Why do we do it?
For the love of who?
We do. Yes, all for the love of Doctor Who. Of course it is. That's what brought us together in the first place. And that's why we keep banging all this stuff out. And hopefully that's why you guys are here too, to share with us. So keep the comments coming there in the live chat over on Rumble and YouTube as we dig into everything else that's been happening in the Doctor Who universe over the last few days. We're going to talk more about Shooty and more about the writer strike too, what that could mean for Doctor Who and everything else when we get stuck in. So we've had so many comments about this, I don't think I can hold back on it any longer. So here we go.
Type 40. That's good enough. I have flown for exterminate, exterminate, exterminate.
Of the collection on Blu-ray of Doctor Who. So specifically the classic collection, at least for the time being. These are lavish multi-disc Blu-ray box sets that BBC Studios have been putting out at fairly regular intervals. It's been a bit of a point of consternation, I think, but as regular as they can be intervals over the last 5 years, with several box sets into it now. I think we're around the halfway mark in, and our shelves are starting to fill up with these silvery boxes, big chunky boxes full of not just the episodes themselves that a lot of us watched growing up and have bought several times since, but all these new extras, all the stuff that was on the DVDs, they're all in there, and lots of bespoke items too. So it's been 5 months since we'd had any concrete news of any further releases in the range, and people were quite understandably getting quite impatient, weren't they, Matt? Have you been following this? Because obviously in the Southern Hemisphere, and particularly in Australia and Tasmania, there's been a bit of a crisis with the Blu-rays in the last few months, hasn't there?
Yeah. Well, they literally, it's taken 5 months for the last season 9 to come out in Australia, and they weren't even going to release that, and now they've increased it by another 30%, 40%. So when it finally comes out, so most of the people that were fans got it from other,
From Britain.
other importers from eBay, yeah. And even then, I bought it cheaper. So I was a bit upset because I was like, oh man, I really want to get this box set, but I know that it's not going to come out here, and if it does, it won't come out till early next year. So yeah, but I can't wait for this one. I really can't. This is my era.
So yeah, the range started, of course, 5 years ago with season 12 of Doctor Who, starring Tom Baker, Elizabeth Sladen, and Ian Marter. And believe it or not, it was a surprise sellout. Ian,
Yeah.
they didn't expect this range to do anywhere near as well as it has done, and this sold out practically instantly. Eventually, did get re-released, but I completely missed out on this back then. What is it with the BBC still underestimating the power of Doctor Who and what people will put their hands in their pockets for? What do you think it is?
Well, BBC never cared about Doctor Who. They care about Doctor Who now because it's floating the agenda, and they're pushing the agenda strongly in this new Doctor Who. But with this Doctor Who, obviously, didn't have any of that rubbish in there. So basically, I think they're ashamed of the white men that became the Doctor. I guess I don't know why they're not, hailing these old series as something great and something that BBC should be proud of, but they're not. So your guess is as good as mine. I'm just guessing here. I don't know what everybody else thinks, but there you go.
Because the DVDs have been solid sellers, hadn't they, throughout the noughties, and in the up to around 2013, 2014, I think, was when the range sort of wound down, reached the end of its natural life, wasn't it, James? It was around that time. And this stuff, it was charting all the time, and it was very much a market leader in its brand. The features, the restoration, just on the DVDs. Do you think it was just they didn't think that people would pay out for a third time? Do you think it was that?
Told me. Sorry.
Yeah, James.
Sorry. I honestly don't really know, to be honest with you. I'm not really a person that you should be asking this. The classic era is not really something that I've kept a hold of for a while. I'm rather ashamed to say that my classic DVDs are kind of kept in a box, tucked away in my room. I haven't really broken them out in a while, but yeah, I don't really know, I'm afraid. Sorry. Everybody's
got to start somewhere, haven't they? But
I think the BBC just constantly underestimate how popular classic Who is. I think Ian's got a point. I think the current, regime at the BBC are ashamed.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't be, because it's fantastic television. Yes, some of it is of its time, but that's the beauty. The things that were made during this time with such little budget. The new effects, the practical effects, the ways of shooting. I mean, what Graham Harper achieved, with his direction and on a shoestring. And I think that there is a kind of taking for granted of long-term fans that yes, some will buy anything. They bought it all on video, on VHS, and they bought it all on DVD. So obviously they're gonna do it on Blu-ray, and I don't think they've realised just how many, long-term fans there are.
Yeah, I got to say though that there is, I think, something to be said for, how unique the classic series is now, because we take for granted because for the better part of 18 years the show's been back, and the Doctor Who's got this, I wouldn't say great big budget, but it's respectable. They can make things look a lot more realistic than they could do back then, than they were able to. And the music as well, it's a lot more unique in the classic series than it is now. Now they've got big grand orchestras and things, and that's why they've had like Doctor Who at the proms and things. So it was much more so. But back then, I think the music is a lot more unique now. So I think the classic series, I think, stands on its own in many ways. Like there's obviously, because of the time gap between 96 with the TV movie and and Rose in 2005, I think the time gap kind of made us separate it from classic Who to modern Who. But I think classic series does kind of deserve in some ways to stand alone in certain sense, because it's in a way a lot more unique than the modern era is.
It is. I agree.
I'm starting to come around to that way of thinking as well.
It's sad that the BBC, because these things are going to sell like hotcakes, right? Why is it taking them so long to actually concentrate and actually give us a Blu-ray
they did
version?
learn the hard way. Even though that first set, the season 12 set, did sell out, same thing happened for the second set, the third. In fact, I think there were about 5 or 6 sets in before they realised maybe we should start making more of these things, because people were buying multiple copies, putting them on eBay like the scalpers, and it was getting ridiculous. And so they had to re-release multiple ones. The Geeks Handbag says, well, as usual, the BBC don't know what they've got, and they are surprised when it's sold out. The fools. I agree with Ian, says Wendology, and the Timescale says Doctor Who will never die, as fans are always happy to buy physical media. Jackady here says that because the Blu-rays started coming out when the current era wasn't selling, do you think that could have affected it too? Well, they did start just before the notorious Whittaker Chibnall disaster started, so I don't know as we can lay it on that. I don't think we can. I
think they did. You can definitely see though, and I'm thinking not just with the Blu-rays, with the animations, you could see they started off, and the BBC were didn't know what they were doing with them, didn't give them a lot of support either.
In that instance, Charlotte, I don't think they really knew who the audience was for those.
No, but I'm just saying, you could see this pattern of them giving some, like we've all said, it should be the classic era should be given its sort of prestige and its place in history, and it should be preserved and celebrated. And I think they only learnt that through the combination of the Blu-rays and the animations doing so well. And I think during Jodie's era, the good, and I think we've all said this to some degree, the sort of the silver lining of the Jodie era, there was some of them, and one of them was it made a lot of people appreciate classic. It made a lot of people actually go no, because it got so either tarnished or attacked in some fans' viewpoints. It actually made them want to go back and watch it again and actually go, no, you can't change it. This is classic. It's its own thing. It's special. Leave it alone. So I think Jodie had that weird knock-on effect her era a little bit.
They won't admit that the Jodie era wasn't working. So, I mean, what kind of fools are they when these Doctor Who, everything that they've sold of Doctor Who has sold really, really good. And then when it comes to, it's just, there must be an idiot there saying, oh no, we shouldn't put more money in. If I was in charge of Doctor Who, and especially selling these DVDs, I would put a lot of money into them, maybe redoing some of the effects so they have a choice between watching the original. And I know they do that now, but really going back and spending more money on it and just making sure that the fans could just they will buy everything and anything if you do it properly. The BBC don't care about this era, or they call it the golden era now, the one with Matt Smith and David Tennant. I don't know what they call that now, but they don't care about that either. All they're caring about is this one, this era now. So
Yeah, I mean,
we'll see.
The Sodor Engines adds, I'm always going to be buying the old DVDs. I know Blu-rays are a popular format, but the DVD copies always have a special place in my heart, especially the signed ones. I know people who feel that way about the VHS range. I do.
Yeah, VHS.
Yeah, so
Not only
anyway,
that, but like,
Mm.
yeah,
Go
no, just it's the first time really that I'd ever seen a videotape put on Blu-ray. Like, you know, that things shot on video actually put on Blu-ray.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was possible. I thought I'll just get DVDs and then that's it. And so I missed out on the whole first few Blu-rays because I was like, well, I've already got the DVDs and I don't think they could get any better than that. And they did.
I thought that for a long time as well. But I'm so glad that I got on board sooner rather than later and that those re-releases came. And now I've got the full set. So what I realised was, full enough, Sarah, I realised to myself, when this range gets round to releasing my favourite seasons, such as this one we're going to be talking about, I thought I'm going to want it, and therefore, as a completist, I'm going to need all the rest as well. So they finally put us out of our misery today. This was the worst kept secret in the history of Doctor Who media because we all knew what was coming. Season 20 of Doctor Who has been announced for joining the rest of the collection there on Blu-ray. We haven't got an exact date for this because quite sensibly they don't give exact dates on them anymore. But obviously this is, I'd say that we are definitely getting this before the end of the year because it just feels right that the 20th anniversary season of Doctor Who is released in the 60th anniversary. And obviously this stars Peter Davison, Janet Fielding, Mark Strickson, Sarah Sutton, the voice of Gerald Flood, and a lot of guest stars here in this season from 1983. This was at the very height of my young fandom, and I'm thrilled to say this is going to be the most jam-packed set yet. There's hours and hours of new exclusive material across 9 whole discs celebrating the 20th anniversary of the programme. Very much a happy place for myself. Simon Horton must be turning cartwheels today. Obviously, this was the season. It's always fabulous artwork on these. This is, again, from
Kind
Lee
of looks
Binding.
like he just woke up.
Peter Davison looked like that
I
a
love
lot.
it.
He looks a bit dishevelled. No, I don't
he
know.
doesn't. It's a fantastic piece of artwork. I love, like, he's got his hand, he's holding the star, and you got the Daleks. This is a better cover than most of them.
Yeah, I
actually.
think that I agree. And this
Oh, it's
is
better than the
this is
Pertwee ones. That's
gorgeous.
for
Yeah,
sure.
it is. I agree.
Absolutely
Pertwee ones look
superb.
awful.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The likeness is bang on, and it's creatively interesting, I feel, Matt. There's so much going on in there.
It's not Matt, it's Matthew. What's wrong with you?
What I'm really pleased about is that they've chosen probably my favourite story of the entirety of season 20 there to be the focus point, because the Doctor's holding the mind's eye there, the jewel from Snake Dance. So I'm really happy with that. And yeah, Lee Binding has provided the artwork as always, not
Brilliant.
just for the front cover there. It is this one is standout brilliant. So we can have a closer look at the front cover there with all its various
I'd like to have that
flares.
on my wall, actually. That would make a good poster. It's a really,
would,
really
yeah.
nice little piece of
would.
artwork. It's really
It
nice.
would.
Even the I don't know what is behind him. That just sets it off beautifully. The glass sort of
Yeah.
effect of shattering. I think that's such a nice
shattered
little
mirror.
touch.
That's what it is.
Well,
Yeah.
I thought they were the
Shattered mirror.
shards.
Thank
I
you.
thought they were supposed to be the shards from the Five Doctors that the incarnations are trapped in.
Oh, it could
I-
be, yeah.
Could be.
I'm not sure, but there is a spoiler. If you haven't seen those stories, there is a spoiler for them in the artwork there, but I'm not going to draw people's attention to it just in case you haven't seen it. The back cover is probably even better. We've got the Black
that is
Guardian
really good.
reaching out across eternity to grab the TARDIS, while the sailing boats from Enlightenment are there at either side. This is just wonderful. Valentine Dial looking
That
sensational
is
there.
epic. Again,
Wow.
that would make an amazing poster.
Yeah, poster,
wouldn't it?
yeah, on the wall. Fantastic,
Epic.
absolutely fantastic.
I saw some of the effects, the new updated effects,
Yeah,
and
so
you know
have I.
what? I actually
Yes,
prefer
I've-
the original ones.
Oh, do you? I don't.
I didn't like the boats. I thought the boats looked like something out of like 1980 CGI.
I
It
don't
was
know.
pretty. I don't know. I mean, it's the same with the snake though. I mean, I prefer the original snake
did
over
you?
that new one. Yeah. Oh God, yes.
No, I prefer.
Oh
I
yes.
prefer- I always prefer the updated version, and the way they did the updated version is they still still had one foot in this aesthetic of that era, instead of trying to make it all very
It just
2000
looks
and whatever.
superimposed to me, like really, really superimposed. But yeah, no, I love the artwork is good.
I love it.
Especially with, I know how difficult it is being a designer, having to design stuff that you don't have a lot of material to work with.
Yeah,
because
only
there are
got
only
so
so
many
many, there are
publicity
only so
shots.
many hot. There are only so many high res images that can
Yeah.
stand up to the modern digital manipulation, aren't they, Matt?
Yeah, and a lot of people don't understand that, and they go, "Oh, this looks off, this looks off." And I understand completely how it is having just recently designed a Blu-ray cover myself using materials that I just didn't have. I know how difficult it can be. So
Why couldn't we have this for like the artwork for the calendars and diaries and things? If we had these, there's 12 fantastic images.
But
like
he did that
would
one
sell.
they're using for all the calendars and that now though too, didn't he? He did all those ones with all the 15 doctors or whatever.
He
But
didn't
he doesn't
didn't
do.
the. Go on, Charlotte.
I was going to say he does a lot of in-house stuff, lead binding, but these are special just for the DVD, the Blu-rays. Sorry, the Blu-ray covers. I agree with Starry though. If you had all of these on a proper calendar and not just the same old art we've seen since the 50th,
That's the one I don't.
I used to buy the calendar every Christmas, but I stopped buying it when they started introducing Jodie and putting the next door neighbor doctor in there as well, and I just couldn't buy them anymore.
Well, she's in it forever now, Ian. So
That artwork that they use of all that artwork that they use of all the individual doctors that they use repeatedly. Lee didn't actually do that. It's one of the very few bits of modern Doctor Who artwork that he didn't produce, but they have got their money's worth out of that. I think we probably need something different. We've got a comment here from Psychics Beats again in the chat, and who asks why they're still printing the Jodie logo on them. Now this is something. Well, this is something that they've spoken about publicly as well, because the feeling was that there are many, many Doctor Who fans out there who were desperate to keep the continuity on their shelves. So that's why, because to scan across your shelf and see a full set that looks uniform, if you've got OCD, that does keep some people awake at night, James, believe it or not. If you look across and see some diamond logos breaking up, people really don't like that stuff. Even though I work in branding and design, it wouldn't necessarily bother me so much. And the truth of the matter is, with me, I actually associate, because there was so little Doctor Who that was produced during that era, and She Who Will Not Be Named, I actually associate this logo. I associate this logo with the Blu-rays more so than her and it. So I'd never really mind this. I think they look quite striking on the spines in particular. So we have been asked that question several times before, but it's probably worth going back to because it's been a little while.
Can I just say also, I'm so happy it's Peter, because I feel like out of a lot of the classic Doctors, his Doctor sort of hasn't been talked about or revisited a lot. I feel like we've had a lot of Colin stuff now, we've had a lot of Sylvester stuff, we've had a lot of the other classics, and I just feel like Davidson's sort of always sort of been on the periphery, left a bit.
You know why, don't you? Because he spoke up.
Yeah.
That's why. And now they
in all
shoved him to
honesty,
the side. They shoved
in all
him to the
honesty,
side.
let's be fair. That is not going to add any influence at all over the release of
You
these.
don't think so,
these
Dan?
sets. No, I know for a fact it hasn't. The reason why
Really? How do you know that for a fact, Dan?
It went
Because
because of Mark Strickson's availability.
Yes.
Yeah.
This set they've released one Peter Davison set all the way back in 2018 originally. This set has been in the pipeline since the pandemic. So some of the features were filmed way back then. Mark Davison lives literally on the Mark Strickson, sorry, literally lives on the other side of the world. So they filmed some of the
New
extras
Zealand. He lives in New Zealand now.
before the pandemic, and they had to wait until after the lockdowns and everything else until his schedule loosened up again to bring him back, to get him in the fold and finish off the set. So yes, that's how I know. It wasn't anything else. And
I think Charlotte was talking about how they've kind of ignored Peter Davison, not about the Blu-ray. I don't know. Was I? Did I get
I
that
was
wrong?
saying in general. I feel like
In
a
general,
lot of,
yeah.
What I was going to say is, I felt this way before the Jodie stuff, so I think it's just a weird thing that I felt like
he's just an incarnation that kind of gets overlooked. I think because his predecessor was there for so long, and the era that came after him was so calamitous. It still gets a lot of, if not general press attention, a lot of fan attention, because it was a little bit of a car crash to endure that. I think it's honestly as simple as that. But yeah, back to this set. So this is taking us all the way back to 1983, and that original console room there with the neon pink, and this is seven stories with the Fifth Doctor, Nyssa, Tegan, and Turlough, and Chameleon as they face off against the Black Guardian, Omega, the Mara, the Master, Cybermen, and the Time Lords themselves there in that. So it's a long list of stories. And in this season, there was an effort. The whole conceit behind it was to revisit something from the series past in every single story. So for anybody out there who hasn't got the classic knowledge or hasn't seen them in a while, so it goes from Arc of Infinity to the Black Guardian trilogy of Snake Dance, Mordred Undead. It goes from Arc of Infinity to the sequel to Kinder, Snake Dance. Then we've got the Black Guardian trilogy with Mordred Undead, Terminus, and Enlightenment, the two-part story of the King's Demons, and then that 20th anniversary special, the 5 Doctors from November.
Can't wait.
Famously, there was supposed to be one other serial to make up this series that they had to, I think it was Industrial Action or something happened that the story Warhead never got made. So that kind of got bumped until the following year. It became Resurrection of the Daleks. So there's a good chunk of great stories there from one of my personal favourite seasons of Doctor Who. So have you got any favourites that stand out there? Apart from the 5 Doctors there, Charlotte, which ones of these particularly stand out to you?
See, I quite like the King's Demon because I think it's a lovely historical. I think the settings, like all the costumes and the setting and the sets, I think are gorgeous. And I think Davidson's Doctor really suits the sort of that time period because he's this dashing sort of heroic Doctor.
Young,
and I just think I like the idea of Chameleon. I know obviously when it came to actually how he got used, it's a different thing, but I think as an introduction it's a really interesting creature and concept, so I'd say the King's Demon.
I like Snake Dance. I like I like it a lot, actually. I actually liked it more so when they added the new effects in. That's just me, right? So I like it.
I agree with Charlotte. I do like my historicals, as Dan knows. I really do like the King's Demon, but I like they're all. It's difficult because I really like Snake Dance. I like Mordred Undead because the Brigadier's back.
Oh yes.
That was a big factor for me. I think this is the season that I've watched the most of Davison's.
Really?
I rewatch the most.
And also, I keep saying, I think it's one of the best costumes for a Doctor. It really does suit Peter Davison. I mean, he didn't change it at all, did he? For his tenure?
Oh, he did. Yeah.
Oh, did he?
There was a new sweater. There was a new shirt, and it was actually a different coat in his final season. Yeah, the last time we see his original costume was in Warriors of the Deep in season 21. But it didn't change. It didn't change much. We do see him wearing lots of different things in various stories, but largely it stayed the same. Snake Dance is a big favourite of mine, but most of them are. The only one I've never really cared much for, Matt, is Terminus. But as time's gone on, I actually appreciate that more than I used to. I still find it a little bit of an ordeal, though.
Yeah, I mean, my favourite's probably Enlightenment. But I remember getting the Mordred Undead and Terminus, the Black Guardian trilogy on DVD, and I called my friend over, which I rarely ever do because I don't have many friends. But I got my friend over, and I said, "I've got the box set. come over, let's grab some pizza, and we'll sit and watch it. And it's the once and the only time I've actually sat and watched it with a friend. Otherwise, I've just watched it always on my own. So, those certain stories have got a.
I can't wait to see this, because the one when they did the other ones, it was difficult because of the nature of what it was shot on and stuff like that. But this one was shot on fairly a solid format, so it's going to look spectacular. This version of Doctor Who, the way they've got technology now to make it look good. So I can't wait to see the 5 Doctors, re-energized with some of the new effects in there, and just looking as clear as it can be. I can't wait. I can't wait.
I was really surprised because, as far as I understand it, the 5 Doctors I always thought was at the beginning of season 21, not the end of season 20. So obviously I've always gotten that wrong, because I was always going, oh, come on, release season 21.
The 5 Doctors was shot all the way back in the March and then shown in the November. I think they just wrapped on it a couple of weeks before the Longleat convention, or the Longleat event, I should call it, that weekend event there. And so all episodes of season 20, including the 5 Doctors, have been newly remastered from the best available sources, including those original film elements, Ian, so that they should look spectacular. The amount of location work that was in the 5 Doctors in particular, but even in the King's Demons there's quite a lot. Mordred Undead too. In fact, there's only Snake Dance and Terminus were all location work, and obviously the Arc of Infinity, part of that, a good chunk of that was shot on location in Amsterdam. James, have you seen that one? How familiar are you with season 20?
I've got to be honest, I think I've only seen about 3 of those stories. I've seen Arc of Infinity, that I know. I've seen Enlightenment, and I've seen the 5 Doctors multiple times. But sorry, just like 3 of those. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I can't.
No, James. There are no wrong answers. There are no wrong answers on Type 40 Live. Corvin M in the live chat on YouTube asks, I'm not sure if the DVD Enlightenment Special Edition Director's Cut is on the Blu-ray. It will be. It looks like everything is going to be on there. There is a brand new edition as well with better special effects. This is what they boast: updated special effects, surround sound, and brand new audio commentaries on various things. Obviously, the jewel in the crown to this season is going to be the 5 Doctors. Yeah, we've spent. I've seen this story. I'd hate to think how many times. I know the 5 Doctors better than I know Star Wars, and I know Star Wars really, really well. I know the 5 Doctors line from line. I own it in several formats. I mean, I recorded it off the television.
We've seen it. I've seen your collection.
Yeah. That's my off-air recording from 1983 there, still in its original library sort of leather look video case there with my hand-drawn labels. Yeah, only the label is SKC. The tape was a BASF one, and I used a Scotch stick, so I just used whatever stickers I'd got. But of course, I eventually owned this multiple times on multiple formats.
I've got that one at the top in the middle. I've got that one. Still got that one. But do you know what the thing about this is it's going to be really interesting to see it looking as clear as it can be, and enjoying it, looking at it again as a piece, looking so clear with the new visual effects. It'd be looking at it again. What's going to happen.
What I would love, Ian, is it won't happen, but imagine releasing it at the cinema for a limited.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Somebody in the live chat has mentioned how previous box sets have had cinema screenings for set stories. In particular, in America, there was a screening of Genesis of the Daleks with a proper film poster and everything. And they do them at the BFI, don't they, Charlotte? People go on to those.
There's big marquee events. And I think that's what also is so unique about these Blu-rays. I can't think of any other show that doesn't that's so consistently has Blu-rays of the older material, but they're not just that, like you said, there's so much extra stuff on top of it. I can't think of any other show that has that. And it's such a unique thing to Doctor Who, and it just shows how much like love and passion this fan base has, that we can get these box sets and they make money and they do really well. And the BBC, it's like, yeah, you can do more extra features, you can do more interviews, more everything.
Yeah, it'd be great, wouldn't it? I mean, I can't
Yeah,
wait.
I remember when this was released in Australia, and it was so popular. We had magazines and everything, and I still remember getting the magazine inserts and all this, and we'd only just gotten Peter Davison as the Doctor. So when they showed this, we actually forwarded into time. So I was like, well, where's Nissa and Adric and all this? We just couldn't work it all out. And then there was a documentary shown just prior to this, and I have never been able to see it anywhere else. And apparently they never even showed it in England. So I'm hoping, maybe, God willing, they may have a copy of it somewhere. And you know, because they were showing like the behind the scenes with Doctor Who, and you know what was inside K9 and everything like that, and it was really strange. And I really wish that I could find it somewhere, but I've never seen it anywhere.
You know, the
this
beginning
is the
of
last
this.
chance. You know,
Do you know the beginning of this when they're at that place? Was it the Sea of Tranquil, wherever it is, where they and
The Eye of Orion.
That's it, Eye of Orion, and he's drawing that picture. I always remember that the quality of that looking really bad and grainy and you know and a bit soft and squishy and stuff. That every version from the VHS to the DVD version. But now I reckon it's going to look freaking clear and it's going to be amazing. So I can't wait.
The 2008 re-release special edition Blu-ray for the 35th anniversary, something like that. That looked so much better. So I can only imagine how this is going to look. So the Five Doctors 40th anniversary edition is named here. A brand new version of the 90-minute anniversary special, it says in the blurb, with updated special effects.
Again,
Dolby Atmos and surround sound, and a new exclusive commentary from Peter Davison, Janet Fielding, and Mark Strickson. Hopefully all the old commentaries are on there too, including the brilliant one with David Tennant and Phil Collinson. That's really, really funny. Because Julie Gardner's on that too. And so obviously she's not the greatest authority on classic Doctor Who. So it makes for a really great conversation to hear Tennant and Collinson, who grew up watching the show, talking with Julie about all of that, about the appeal of it to them when they were children and the real event of the 20th anniversary. But a new commentary with those three, with the regular cast too, that's going to be great because we know the chemistry between them. Obviously, Ian, you're salivating at the thought of all new special effects. So we've got the Raston Warrior robot, which is a standout character. He's been given yet another tune-up for this one.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I love the Raston Warrior
the
robot.
original one.
No, you can only improve in greatness.
Well, the
That's
original
all you
one's
can
on
do.
there. The original one's on there as well.
Exactly.
And the obelisks have been updated again. So if you remember the obelisks in the original, they were very Superman 2, weren't they, Ian?
Yeah,
very
yeah,
Superman 2.
yeah.
And then in the 90s, we got the Mr. Whippy versions that whizzed around in that edition there, but they've been updated again. So we've got something a little more solid this time. So this is this is the brand new version.
Oh yes. Bring it on.
Another
That's what I can
cone.
say.
Awesome.
Brilliant.
And what I like about this is because it looks like it matches a lot of the architecture from when they get into the tomb of Rassilon, all the various things that the ancient Gallifreyan writing is chiseled into. It looks like all the hieroglyphics. It looks like something that belongs of that world. So I'm totally down for this. I really like that too. I can always watch the original ones. It's not going anywhere. But if this gets more eyes on this classic story, and heaven knows what other little touches have been added to it, I sincerely can't wait.
Make Sarah Jane actually fall off a...
I hope not.
Yeah.
I hope not. I'm
going to roll an extra couple of miles.
yeah, Starry, make that little bit of a drop an actual hill. Not...
You could have just walked up, couldn't she? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's so funny.
I love it.
That looks so clumsy. That does. Great.
There are new special effects too on Enlightenment and Snake Dance, along with 7 new editions of Behind the Sofa. I'm not as down on those as some people. I think some.
You know what? I was actually really excited by those because they didn't have anybody that I didn't know on there. Because they have people from Doctor Who magazine and all that sort of thing making fun of it. And that's the one thing that's really irritated me. And I know that it's irritated Simon as well. And for the longest time, I've just turned them off because I've started watching them, and then it's take the utter. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. Take the piss, and it's just not. I understand that some of the stuff's clumsy and all that, but when you weren't even born in that era, and you're just going, ha, look at that, paper mache, whatever. It's just it just really, really ankles me. So
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah, but I'm really looking forward to this one.
We've also got two, Matt, brand new long-form interviews between Matthew Sweet and Sarah Sutton and Janet Fielding. And there's a feature called Let's Go Dutch, where the regular cast go over to Amsterdam to revisit the locations and reminisce about making Arc of Infinity and their entire time on the show.
Got to be careful where you take. Yeah, got to be careful where you put the camera.
It does, doesn't it?
Obviously, Peter Davison's included in that, isn't he? He's gone with them, yeah. So it's gonna be great. I can't wait to buy this. I can't wait. Seriously.
There's also a reunion between Janet Fielding and her co-star Martin Clunes. It was his first ever TV role back in 1983, who went on to be phenomenally successful in the 90s in both comedies and drama. Men Behaving Badly, Doc Martin, all those shows that Martin Clunes has been part of.
Was the best.
No Place Like Home, all those things. Yeah, but they get back together 40 years on for it looks like a really fun discussion. And there's lots of other stuff too on there, including, this is what I'm excited about, the making of The King's Demons, because when these things came out on DVD, they decided, the people who are putting them together, decided that some stories weren't worth putting a lot of effort into the release of, and they didn't do making of documentaries, one of which was The King's Demons, which is a big favourite of mine. We finally get that to complete this box set. So I'm thrilled with all this. There's a Longleat celebration footage exclusive. They say it's previously unreleased footage from that 2-day event. Again, Simon, if you're out there, you're going to be all over that with studio footage and convention footage. There's a rare US documentary and photo galleries and all the usual stuff that makes up the average.
You might be on it. You'll have to look out for it.
You know what? He probably is. Anything could happen. Anything could happen.
I just love that noise.
I can't wait. It's great.
When is it coming out? When is it coming out?
We have no date yet, mate. Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, I've pre-ordered it. Right away. I would have clicked right away.
Where did you go, Dan?
Go straight to Amazon or Zavi or HMV. They've all got it at $54.99 for the 9-disc lavish box set there. But of course, they put out a trailer as well, one of their minisodes. Now, I don't know if any of you have had a chance to watch this yet.
Yeah,
it's the longest.
I watched it. Yeah.
It's the longest one yet, and it's called The Passenger, and it was written and directed yet again by Pete McTighe. And this time, though, we got the full Doctor Who title sequence with credits recreated and with the right fonts. And Pete McTighe got to see his name come up in that neon tubing as well. And he treated us to a lovely 10. I don't know whether to talk about it now because Ian's not seen it. It stars. Well, it stars Janet Fielding, so she's back as Tegan. We last saw her in The Power of the Doctor, where Tegan was my favourite companion from my youth, James. And it was a tie between her and Ace, played by Sophie Aldred. Yeah. So you'd think that I would be quite pleased that they got them both for The Power of the Doctor. Of course, unfortunately, it was written by Chris Chibnall. So what we got were two characters that beared little resemblance really to the two. But at least Sophie Aldred, I think she came out of that quite well. But I don't think Janet fared quite so well. She gets a lot better stuff to do in this and gets to show that she can still turn it on. She's still a good actress. And she's undoubtedly the star of this. But we do get to see, I don't think it is actually spoiling it. I'm not going to take you all the way through the story. But during the course of this, Tegan gets a text, doesn't she? And is called out to a fairground to meet up with somebody. Who will it be? That's the conceit of this. Have you had a chance to watch it yet, Charlotte?
Yeah, and I was like, they've progressively been getting more sort of weighty with the story, haven't they? And I watched it, and like this bit was sort of like something from a horror movie. Like the way it was shot,
the way it was
and the way she was,
and the lights and the sounds of I find fairgrounds eerie anyway. So yeah, it was quite.
And then what
freaky.
she did, I won't spoil the end bit because I think that is actually a bit of a spoiler. But what happened near the end really showed, no, she's got chops and she
Yes.
can do it. And
Have we
also,
got word? Yeah, sorry, Charlotte.
and I was gonna say, and I quite liked also. There's a little bit of regret in her in this, and I didn't get
Well,
that.
that she was in the Power of the Doctor.
Probably. No, but in the Power of the Doctor, there wasn't any of that. Or if it was, it didn't
No.
felt. Whereas in here, I actually felt she was like, no, I didn't appreciate what I had
Yes.
when I was there, and I thought that was a lovely little moment. So
Kibnall wrote the character politically, whereas Pete McTighe writes her with love. He knows
with
the character.
emotion and with actual history of what has gone before, you really get the fact that this is an older companion coming back, actually revisiting a bit of their life almost, which is nice.
Yeah, I've got to say, I did kind of feel that with Power of the Doctor, because when I watch classic stories with Tegan in it, I kind of watch those and I kind of go, Tegan whinges quite a bit, doesn't she? Like I just kind of I just kind of go to myself, you have a chance to travel through time and space.
You didn't want to
And all
be
you
there,
can
though.
talk about
She's an
is
Australian female, mate. Jeez.
Don't interrupt the guy. Come on, let him finish.
well, you know, I mean, I just every time I saw her, she would just complain about, I've got to get back to, back to my job as an air stewardess, and I've got to, get back to Earth and everything. And I'm just like, darling, you have a chance to do something that very few humans get to do, and you are complaining the whole way through. So I love the idea of a little clip, a little minisode happening where she kind of goes, you know what, I didn't appreciate what I had while I had it, and I wish I had a second chance. I'm actually gonna go back and watch The Passenger, because that might make me think of her time in the TARDIS back in the 80s originally, make me go, you know what, I can probably see that as a full circle moment. I can probably see her whinging in the Fifth Doctor stories as, as character development, looking
Yeah,
back.
it very much was, to tell you the truth. And I think it's just a case of sometimes and this is my favourite era I'm talking about, so I feel that I can say it. Some writers had a better grasp of the characters than others, and because those scenes were often dotted around the adventure, whereas now I think they take a lot more care. Modern writing is to take a lot more care and spend more time with characters personally and actually promoting growth in them. This is one thing I do like about modern writing and new Doctor Who writing. But in the classic show, I think it's there in what the actors are doing more so than what the writers are doing, simply because that wasn't part of the remit of the show then. It was a pretty much straight adventure series, whereas now I think times have changed and the appeal of it broadened as television has sort of broadened and as audiences got, I don't want to use more sophisticated, but just got more accustomed to a different kind of storytelling and a different balance, particularly across 50 minutes. But I agree with everything that you said, Charlotte, about the mood of this, both yourself and Sarah, the atmosphere and how it gradually sort of cranks things up. And yeah, but she's met with a familiar face pretty early on, and we do get to see Sarah Sutton play Nyssa again in this. She hasn't played this character on screen for 40 years. And I mean, I think Sarah Sutton still looks lovely. She still plays this part beautifully, but that's only, I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to spoil it for anybody who hasn't had a chance to watch it yet, because the story does go elsewhere. That's not where it ends. But for me, just seeing those two back together again for however long was a really, really lovely thing, Sarah.
Yeah, it pulled on my heartstrings, and I'm not as emotionally invested with this team as you and Simon and Ian are. But I did think, this the love, I reiterate what Charlotte said, the love and care that Pete McTighe has managed to do in just this short time. He really knows these characters and he loves these characters, and it just shines through. And you can tell they absolutely loved working together again. The chemistry's still there. It's amazing. I didn't realise, Sarah's not played her for that long, and you wouldn't know.
She's done a lot of audio. I think that probably does help. and so's Janet now. But here they are back in the day in
Nicely shot as
1983.
well. I was watching a bit of it just now. It's nicely shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just wondering where does anyone know where the fairground is?
Don't know.
Not a clue. Probably, I think it's probably somewhere around Cardiff.
Somewhere in Wales, yeah.
Barry Island.
that would be my guess.
Not
But yeah,
Blackpool.
it is. It's lovely to see them back together. It was nice seeing Janet with Sophie. I think a lot of Sophie ordered. I think she's a great ambassador for Doctor Who and a great actress. But yeah, with Tegan being back with Nyssa just makes a lot more sense.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Janet's given a lot more to do as well than she was in the Power of the Doctor there. So she gets to show that she can act, that she's still got it. She's still got a good grasp of that character, and it really did touch me. And I was even touched by this, and I was thinking how Pete McTighe must have felt just to have his name on the end credits. He's clearly a child of the 80s. I get the impression this was his era. The attention that he lavishes on Janet and Sophie. And the fact that this is the most extravagant minisode yet, I suspect he got goosebumps from this. It seems so to me, and I mean, I don't know too much about it at the moment. There is a guy that I'm sort of acquainted with who worked on it, but I didn't know he worked on it until today. So this is Andrew Stocker, who was the production manager on it, and here he is. This is an image that from him where he's on location there at Adventure Island. I have to ask him where it is. Well, we'll see if we can find out where it is. Yeah, he looks very pleased with himself, doesn't he? In one of J&T's shirts. I think that actually probably is one of J&T's shirts. Andrew, let us know if you're watching.
Essex. It's in Essex.
In Essex?
It's in Essex, all right. I think most people are very, very happy about this because it's so overdue. I think even if you're not necessarily a Davison kid, then it's been so long since the last set. Yeah, we've got Enlightenment. People are big fans of Enlightenment. There are no wrong answers with this. There aren't. Enlightenment. Terminus is the biggest struggle for me, says Gary Browser. The trilogy is great. That's the Black Guardian trilogy, says Peter Harrington. Yeah, I genuinely, I'm not going to even pretend that I can be objective about this era. I can't really. I think it's fantastic. One of the reasons I would love the Fifth Doctor era so much is because of the personalities the companions remind me of my co-workers, says Michelle Hamilton. Peter says, so have Big Finish changed to... the Big Finish stories and storyline and plotline have been changed, yet they haven't kept to it in this. But then again, I'm not going to spoil The Passenger because not everything is as it appears to be, so maybe, but maybe not. Tegan and Nyssa in a spin-off, in a Rosemary and Time style investigation of aliens and supernatural baddies, pitches Mark Milford in the live. Well, don't pitch us, pitch them. Tegan is one of my favourite companions, says Jackady, but Janet's performance in The Power of the Doctor was embarrassing. I think she could only do so much. She could only do so much with what she was given. Some actors and actresses can rise above it and can polish turds, but not everybody can. I think it depends on the kind of actress or actor
She got told, let's be fair, the direction was very clear. You're shouty and you complain. That was her direction in The Power of the Doctor.
Adam notes that it's a very different trailer from the comedic trailers that we've had previously, like the one with the Vok robot, in particular with Leela. It's a nice one, but I think they've moved on a lot since then, Sarah.
Yeah, it's got more story and definitely much more dramatic.
TARDIS Spider asks, does the character of Tegan hold the record for the most hairstyles? I don't know. I think Sarah Jane might be the one for that.
That one.
The jury's out. You tell us who has the record for the most hairstyles during their time in Doctor Who. I was hoping to see 5 in that minisode, says Ada McGear. Yeah, I was surprised he didn't show up. But then again, the Doctors never do they? Colin wasn't in his, and Sylvester wasn't in the one with but he was in the one with Mel. Oh, yeah, you're right.
He was in the one with Bonnie, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe.
Colin did that weird one with the in court, but he wasn't playing
for the trial season.
One with one of the Doctors. You never know.
Yeah. Tony L says, I really like the trailer for Season 20's Blu-ray, especially with Tegan and a fellow companion. And Mark Milford says that there's nearly 80,000 views of the Season 20 announcement trailer already on YouTube, Sarah. That's incredible. It's only been up 3 hours.
Yeah, that goes to show
Yeah,
you.
let's have a look. Yep, you're right. 37k views so far. 6 hours it's been out. Excellent. Yeah.
Like I say,
It's
it's
probably
probably...
there's an appetite for Doctor Who.
Yeah, the audience is there for
There.
good Doctor Who.
Yeah.
In the
Sorry,
60th year, BBC. It'd be
Yeah.
nice, wouldn't it?
nice to get something. Yeah, so the wait is over, everybody. We're finally going to get more Blu-ray. Season 20 coming to Blu-ray. We're not exactly sure when. We just know that it's coming, and it's up there for pre-order now at HMV, Amazon, Savvy, all those places. You can get that. And the beauty of it is that they don't charge you until it actually gets released as well. So you haven't got to worry about it going out of your account now and then wondering about when you're going to get the damn thing. So yeah, that's out there, and we'll be looking at the set, no doubt, again at some point in the future. I can bet that Simon Horton will be wanting to make his way back to the mic, back to the webcam, to share his thoughts on this. He must be buzzing as well, because this is very much his sweet spot as well. So yeah, keep the comments coming. Let us know in the comments section what you think of all this. Obviously, this wasn't a surprise. Everybody knew it was coming, but the extras probably are. We hoped, I think, when we reviewed the 5 Doctors and reminisced about it last November, Ian, do you remember? We talked at length, didn't we, about the special effects and how we'd like to see it redone, and we're wondering what they're going to do. And it does look like they've delivered, doesn't it?
It does. I'm so excited. I'm more excited than this than the shooty Doctor Who, that's for sure. So bring it on. I'm after I come off this, I'm going to order it, because I didn't know it was out to order, because I've been working so hard. So I'm definitely gonna order it. And that special effects of the thing looks bloody brilliant. So I just can't wait. It's like Christmas. It's Christmas. Christmas has come again. Before Christmas. So it's good. It's good.
TARDIS Spider asks, when will the BBC pay attention to the fact classics Who outsells new Who every day? And write something good. Well, I think they've cottoned onto it. This is a lavish set, and I understand logistically the issues behind the box sets, particularly this one. But finally, it's on its way, and hopefully there'll be 2 or 3 sets next year. Hopefully they can step up a little bit the momentum there. I've never seen Ian so happy, says Adam, the Geeks handbag. I think that's a nice one to leave that one on. Yes, I can't wait. But it's time for a break now, and time for a ponder. If you're blessed with supreme bladder control, you could be sticking around for the Type 40 live ad break. Have a think. Actually, this is not going to be a great surprise, come to think of it. I think it's going to be pretty clear what the connection is between these, all the faces that appear in this ad break. But I'm going to ask you anyway, can you work out what the connection is between these faces from the TV past? What brings them all together? We'll be back in a couple of minutes with the answer to that, and more conversation here, more lively debate, and more of Ian moaning and groaning. on Type 40 Live. So stay tuned, everybody.
Senor, your crate. Put the kettle on. My crate. My crate.
Dear Consul, the department deeply regrets that the contents of the attached crate, i.e. digestive biscuits, are not to the usual high standard, i.e. they are not McVitie's digestives, and they do not boast the usual incomparable McVitie's taste. Look, Royston, this decision was forced upon the department. If it was up to me, your diplomatic bag would be bulging with McVitie's digestives, though it wasn't my fault.
Give them McVitie's, not excuses. You know those days when an upset spell unsettles your system? When your natural sparkle seems to fizzle away? Why not conjure up refreshing andrews? 1 teaspoonful soon wakes up your natural sparkle. And in no time, you'll be feeling wizard again. Andrews, wake up your natural sparkle.
Spaghetti space shaped in tomato sauce. Heinz invaders, a force to be reckoned with.
I don't believe it.
What'll it be then, Mike?
Oh, I've another Guinness.
And what about,
Liz, do you want another?
Oh, fine. What is it?
That's two then.
what, Guinness? Well, you both drink it? Come on.
Sure, we have for quite a while now.
Bit of gentle persuasion, eh?
Well, it didn't happen overnight.
I bet. How did you manage it then?
Well, I finally got him to try one.
Oh.
Another show over. Time to relax with one of these excellent John Player mild cigars. Great value. At just 53 pence for 5. Why be dishonest, my dear?
Your live streamed magazine format Doctor Who show, clocking all the fixed and not so fixed points in the Whooniverse, both on and off screen, whether you prefer the fourth or fifth dimensions. I'm still here with a lovely panel here on YouTube, Facebook, and Rumble. So we've just what's that noise?
I don't know, Starry. I don't know what she's
I think
doing.
Starry's gone to a field or something by the sounds of it.
It's like she's walking through mud. Yes, so we're still here. We've just feasted on the glory of the contents of the season 20 box set, and we're back here now for more. Now, I wonder if anybody can spot what the connection was between all the faces in that ad break. Should we go and check in the live chat and get some sort of clue? Oh, James got his hand up. Got a maybe there from James. I think we've got some in the. I think we've just succeeded in making people hungry here, James. But seeing the advert for McVitie's digestives, that seems to have gone down very well with TARDIS Spider. He says they sell them at the grocery store in Alabama. Who'd have thought it? McVitie's, James.
Yeah, well, McVitie's, man. I mean, they're the best. They're the best thing to dunk in your tea, in my opinion.
Is that you're a tea man, not a coffee man?
Tea man, myself, yes. British all the way, yes. I anyone who puts their milk in first should be in prison, and I mean that wholeheartedly.
Are they all in season 20? Asks Gary Browser. Frank Windsor says Crimpling Doubloon. Oh, it's easy spot for Crimpling Doubloon. Wendy's just laughing. She's enjoying the advert so much. She's just laughing at them all. All in the 20th? Asks Lord Thoth, I think someone has said. And yes, season 20. Of course it's season 20. All of those actors and actresses featured in season 20, as luck would have it, and this very season that's coming out on Blu-ray. And yes, so we had so there was Michael Goff. First of all, he was the guy. He was dressed a bit like the man from Del Monte as well, wasn't he? But he was actually selling McVitie's digestives. But he was Councillor Headin in Arc of Infinity. The Wizard in the second one, flogging us Andrew's salts. That was Preston Lockwood, who we've seen as Dogen in Snake Dance there. Up next was the voice of the Man in Black, of the Guardian in Black, I should say, the late, great Valentine Dial, of course. He was warning us of an invasion of Heinz, some sort of Heinz product there. Looked absolutely foul. And then we went on to Lisa Goddard. Lisa Goddard, who was Carrie in Terminus. She was the bit of stuff in the advert who turned her other half onto drinking Guinness. That was a nice advert from the mid-70s. And finally, we'd got Frank Windsor. Love Frank Windsor. He was the actor pulling off his makeup to have a crafty cigar there during the intermission. But he was Sir Ranulph Fitzwilliam in The King's Demon. So, of course, all that stuff was from 1983, season 20. And yeah, we're going to get it all again on Blu-ray. Let us know what you think of all of this in the comments section. What's your favourite of the old ad breaks there? And what's your idea for what you'd like to see more of there? More of these themed ad breaks, or just more classic stuff that we've seen over and over again? I think I can never tire of seeing a lot of these, Sarah. So we're streaming this, as always, over to YouTube and to Facebook, to the Type 40 Facebook group and the Type 40 YouTube channel, and over to Rumble there to the Type 40 channel there too. So hello, everybody. Keep the comments coming as we get stuck into more of the good stuff, more of what's kicking off out there in the Whovians. And David Tennant's been out and about promoting Good Omens Season 2. I think that starts in a few days' time. So he's been doing the circuit of This Morning and The One Show and all of that kind of stuff. And he's been sartorially challenging, I think. It's the safest thing I can say on YouTube about all of that. I'm sort of looking forward to Good Omens Season 2. I'll probably give that a go. Well, you a fan of Good Omens, Ian? Is that something that you were aware of the last time it was on? Because it was a very high-end production, wasn't it?
Never seen it. Didn't really interest me. So yeah, I can't really comment really.
Did you go for that one, Sarah? The Neil Gaiman?
Oh yeah. I got the book because it was jointly done with Terry Pratchett, and Neil has said he wants to keep it as faithful to what him and Terry wrote, which I have the utmost respect for. I absolutely loved it. I love Michael Sheen as an actor. David Tennant's absolutely fantastic. Great guest cast, child cast. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I can't wait to see season 2. But I'm ignoring the junket because, I don't want any of the baggage. I just want what the show's about.
Of course. Mark Milford asks you, Ian, have you seen the new Wonka trailer where Hugh Grant plays the king of the Oompa Loompas in that, so I'm told. I haven't caught it yet.
I haven't seen it, no. But I'm going to go and see it because Hugh Grant's in it. Because it's a very different story, isn't it, to the original, isn't it?
I think it's all original. I think it's completely their own creation. This Wonka prequel.
Prequel to the book.
Of course, a prequel. But I love Hugh Grant, so I probably will go and see it anyway because the man's funny as hell. So I'll probably go and see it anyway. So,
Everything needs an origin story now, Ian. Everything.
Yeah, we can't have just mystery. That's not allowed.
Yeah, I'm not bothered. I think, firstly, there's an arrogance to trying to come up with a prequel for such an awful like Roald Dahl. It could be fantastic. I don't know. Just not my thing. But Ian, let me know if it's any good.
I will
watch it on your recommendation.
Definitely gonna because Hugh Grant. If Hugh Grant wasn't in it, I probably won't even entertain the idea of going to see it.
Hugh Grant could have been the Doctor, and he chose to be the. That's never right, is it?
No.
To be honest, the trailer kind of lost me when I saw Keegan-Michael Key in it from Key and Peele, and look, I find the guy funny, but he's in everything. He's everywhere that I look. Every film, every TV show that I watch lately, like Keegan-Michael Key is there. So I'm just like, for God's sake, leave me alone.
I feel the same about Timothy Chalamet. I don't get it. Yeah, is he like this like seasons Robert Pattinson, like the old emo thing with the long? I don't get it. He was okay in June, but I don't understand the appeal. Maybe I'm too old now. I don't know.
He's a handsome young man. That's all you need to know.
Yes.
Can we have an origin story for Type 40? Who would play Dan on screen? Will it be Hugh Grant? Asks Garbage. Agreed story, says James A. Fitzpatrick.
I can tell you who would play me. Shirley Henderson. Perfect.
Shirley Henderson. Oh, from Harry Potter and things like that. Yeah, I know who you mean. And Michelle Hamilton agrees that we don't need characters' origins. Of course we don't. But the most anticipated big screen adaptation that's coming up in the next couple of weeks, at any rate, it concerns an iconic doll, of all things. It's finally due to hit cinemas next week in Britain, and to celebrate its imminent arrival, a pink TARDIS popped up in London, Ian, on the banks there by Tower Bridge. I don't know if you've caught this. Have you been tempted to go down and take a photo opportunity with this pink TARDIS? Is that your thing?
No, not really. Hey, good luck to everyone that's into this. But there you go.
So this was put up on Warner Brothers' official Instagram account. A pink TARDIS from Doctor Who has landed on the banks of Tower Bridge, and the BBC's official Doctor Who account that chipped in with "Come on TARDIS, let's go party." Oh God!
Love
I
it.
liked it. I thought it was fun.
Now they're just taking the piss.
Oh, true.
I like the TARDIS as the idea. I just think that's a really cringy thing the BBC put on the Twitter account.
I'll start the ball rolling on this one then. I'm a sucker for great marketing. I've worked in marketing and design. I understand this stuff. And I get why they would do this, but I still find it all desperately nauseating. And when I see things like this pop up on the official social media accounts in the 60th anniversary year, promoting a film that's not connected, yes, shoot, he's in it, but it's not connected to Doctor Who, I think, oh, come on, is this really the best that you can do? This really didn't sit well with me at all, Sarah.
It didn't need the marketing. It's got its own market. The 60th anniversary.
Yeah.
I don't know who's piggybacking what here. Whether this is Barbie trying to get on with Doctor Who because they know that Doctor Who's a cultural icon, Ian, or whether it is whether it's the other way around. If it's Doctor Who desperately thinking, oh, our guy's in that, and we want people to go and see that because if they like him in that, they may like him in this. Which way around? I can see that it could be mutually beneficial, but it just wound me up a little bit that they made such a song and dance about it when we've seen so little for this bloody anniversary. James, am I taking it a little bit to heart?
I mean, I do think it is. I just find it hilarious because, like, Ncuti Gatwa in both the trailers that I've seen for Barbie, he doesn't have a single line in any of the trailers. Like, Ncuti Gatwa doesn't have a single line. I look at him frame by frame, right, of the movie. Oh, there she is, the lovely Margot Robbie. The only reason I'm seeing the movie, other than Ncuti Gatwa, Ryan Gosling, Simu Liu. Okay, I'm seeing it for many reasons, but it's like Ncuti Gatwa, right? He's just stood there in the background, just facially reacting to basically two Kens arguing with each other about, I'm going to beat you off right now. No, I'm going to beat you off, saying beach instead of beat. Like the joke is, I'm going to beach you off. So that's like a dirty joke inside the Barbie movie, but yeah, so it's just like Ncuti Gatwa was just going, I don't know. But Ncuti Gatwa's sex education co-star Emma Mackey is in that movie playing another Barbie. Plus people keep saying that Margot Robbie and Emma Mackey look a lot alike, so I think that was another reason too. I love the show Sex Education, so I do love Ncuti Gatwa, and I am really looking forward to Barbie. I'm definitely seeing Barbie and Oppenheimer back to back. But yeah, tying that into Doctor Who in the 60th year is just. You
see where I'm coming from then. A lot of people are telling me I need to chill out. It's just a bit of fun. I do get that. And I think this film does look fun. I'm not going to rush to see it, but I probably will see it eventually. I think it looks fun. And I think I understand who this is for, at least. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's for anyone that grew up nostalgically loving the Barbie dolls, you know, and loved the cartoon films growing up. Like, you know, anyone that loved those, my sister used to play with them all the time, and so, you know, it's a nostalgia grab in many ways, but it's also written and directed by Greta Gerwig, who did Little Women and did another great independent film called Lady Bird, and so I think at the very least going to have a much more deeper meaning, you know, to it.
Who fans have flocked to this photo opportunity there on the banks of the Thames. I don't know how long it's there for, but I suppose I like at least we can see the blue a little underneath. That adds a little bit of dignity, I think, Sarah.
Shah, if you're still watching,
we do.
Look down there.
I'm amazed she's not there, that she's not popped up in the media at some point. But yeah, people have mentioned this in the live chat on YouTube. Of course they have, because we have had pink TARDISes in Doctor Who before, haven't we, Matt? If you remember, we had this in the old Happiness Patrol there. Happiness will prevail and all that jazz.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if that particular TARDIS floats. So it's near the Thames, so I'll probably just carry it and see if it floats. No, that was heaps better, that other TARDIS, and I just it was a joke, you know. And this is a joke, you know. It's ridiculous.
It must have made a deal with the BBC, though, right?
You know, I just
I'd have thought so. I mean, I don't know. Like I say, I'm genuinely surprised that they've gone so in on this when they're in bed with Sony and with Disney Plus. Yeah. They're the competition, I would have thought, to Warner Brothers. So it did surprise me.
They would have paid. Well, Disney's pretty desperate for money at the moment, so I'm sure that they would have been happy to get the money in, because obviously they've had to pay. They've had to pay either maybe because it's in England, they pay the BBC, and not so much Disney has much to do with it. Maybe it's anything to do within England. The BBC makes those decisions. I don't know.
I get the feeling it's because Shooty's in it and they're trying to connect the.
Yes. Oh no, it's definitely that connection. There's no other reason for it. You know.
Hold on, so no, everyone's back is turned against the TARDIS. No one is taking pictures.
No one's interested. No, that's right. That's what I noticed too. I didn't want to say anything, but yeah.
But something I am wondering is, what is the point in this bit of Barbie Doctor Who Ncuti Gatwa tie-in for? If it turns out that Ncuti Gatwa doesn't have a lot of screen time.
I don't think he's going to, James. I've got a feeling he's like one of the Kens. He's not. So I think he's not gonna
be in there much. That's like the little tiny 3 scenes that David Tennant had in Harry Potter 4.
Yeah.
And them doing, and Doctor Who doing a tie-in with Harry Potter with Warner Brothers as well, ironically. So it's like it would be if that happened. And David Tennant had a very small part in that, and it seems a bit weird, like, you know, for that to try and tie in.
I think they obviously, this is the audience. The audience that are going to watch Barbie.
They want that
audience. Is the younger demographic that they want. Maybe.
I was going to say,
Jackety says here in the chat, it's already gone. It's been moved to to Television Centre. It's not BBC Television Centre.
I just had a thought. You know, Ryan Gosling, he's in Barbie, right? And so is Ncuti Gatwa. I was thinking, you know, they were saying, who's that guy that's going into the shop? It might be Ryan Gosling, because obviously they're friends.
Oh, in the trailer,
Gosling and Ncuti. So he might persuaded Ryan to be in it for a little bit. So it might be Ryan Gosling. You never know.
A Hollywood A-lister in Doctor Who.
You never know.
But Shooty's not in those, though, is he? I suppose it's possible. If the series does achieve greater popularity again, maybe we will get Ryan in. Maybe we'll get her in, Margot Robbie too. Great big showbiz mates. So it's been the premiere of Barbie just in the last 36 hours, I think, and Ncuti Gatwa was there. So for the people out there who are followers of fashion, you've probably been wondering what would a 30-year-old Time Lord wear on the red carpet for something like that, something so distinguished as his first appearance in a major Hollywood movie. Well, it's this. He's gone dressed. Now, I've said before on this show several times, Matt, how I like my stars to be starry and eccentric and not like us. And I accept that they're going to be extravagant and make absolute tits of themselves, but this is a whole other level. I saw this yesterday and I literally burst out into laughter, Charlotte. This is absolutely ridiculous. There's no dressing this up as something arty or good for him out there. He looks like a massive twat.
He looks like when they go to the Grammys and they just wear the most ridiculous outfits. And of lately it has been the blokes doing it more than the women as well. So it's I think it's the cape, isn't it? I know
it's everything. He looks like an arsehole.
Weirdly, right? I'm okay with the white cape. It's the sparkly short shorts that you know,
the hot pants.
Weirdly, the white cape I am fine with, right? And the hat, that would all work. If it was like some white flare trousers, you know, like what the Bee Gees used to wear, then that'd be.
It's the shoes that get me. I feel like the shoes don't go at least go all out. Did he like?
And also starring.
If you look closely,
the socks. That he's got those shoes, and he's got like socks you'd wear at school if you were a little boy.
Yeah.
Well, those are orthopedic boots. I think the only thing it's missing is calipers. I think he's let the side down.
Has he got a club foot?
I've no. He will have by now wearing those.
Maybe that's why they hired him.
I feel sorry for whoever sat behind him. They're not going to be able to watch the film.
I mean, some of the stuff that he's wore, genuinely, I thought it was all fine. It's the kind of stuff you expect people like this to wear.
I wish Simon was here.
A massive embarrassment. And he appears to be very confident in wearing it. But, yeah.
I've got to say, not many people can pull off like space
can't.
cowboy.
No one does.
The capes remind me of the ones you used to get on the original Star Wars figures in the 70s, Ian, that were made of plastic.
Princess Leia. Yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. Yeah, you're right.
So, Shooty, don't. Sincerely, mate, don't change. Keep entertaining us like this. But this is too much for me. I can't hide my disbelief at this outfit. I think that our Sarah was a lot more dignified when she was invited to a Barbie junket in the last few days.
Oh my God.
I think you were a lot. I think you kept your dignity there, Sarah.
You look better, Sarah. You do. You look like a proper
Yeah,
Barbie.
but that's not saying much, is it? What I've been compared to.
No, I think you hold your own there. I think that's far better.
The best thing about that is the look of disgust for my two sons who just carried on walking past.
It's small in the box, though. Should you not be? Because Barbie's not that small, is she? She's kind of fits in the box, isn't she? So the box is too big.
I'm too small.
Probably allowed it for tall people, Ian.
No, I'm just. Well, I mean, how tall
They
was that
can't
box?
be inclusive. They've got to be
Sarah.
inclusive.
Big, yeah.
So there you go. So more than 6 foot, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I believe the fashion police will be coming for Shooty Gatwa over this one. I think that's a little too far. But am I being too harsh in laughing at this ridiculous outfit this guy's wearing?
It's very gay, isn't it? Nobody's ever mentioned that.
I'm not sure.
It's very gay. What can I say?
Probably. Yeah. I suppose it is. Yeah. I mean, yeah. But either way, I mean,
Like, what if he has a glass of red wine or he needs to go to the toilet? I don't.
Yeah.
He's got a zip in that pants.
Just to let you know, if his parents thought that they had any doubts, now is the time where they've got no doubt.
Bless him. As I say, yeah. Oh God,
he's living his best life.
Too much.
He's doing it.
God, it's going to be
Unfortunately,
drafty.
he's destroying Doctor Who as his best life, isn't he?
Well,
So.
in all sincerity,
I wouldn't have seen Peter Davison do that.
In all sincerity, it is what they say. There's no such thing as bad publicity. You know, all publicity is good publicity, James. That's something we hear a lot. And I think there's a lot of truth in that. And I think it possibly helps that there's a large section of the British public who don't yet associate Shooty with Doctor Who simply because he hasn't been on telly yet. And they won't have seen him on websites the way that we do. They certainly won't have seen the tabloids because nobody really reads the newspapers anymore. Not really. So what do you think about it? Because abroad, Carl Wagner was the guest on the show last week. He was saying Shooty's quite a big star there. But over here, he isn't yet, is he? He just isn't yet.
Well, I mean, obviously, he's a big star in terms of how big, streaming shows are now. So Sex Education is a huge hit for Netflix. And a lot of the stars from that show have went from strength to strength to strength. Emma Mackey, as I told you, has already been in a few things. Kenneth Branagh's Death on the Nile, and Shooty Gatwa, of course, with Barbie, and so like he's a huge star, and so. In that regard, that Sex Education is a huge hit show. So it's like, it's like if in a couple of years' time, when they, come of age a bit more, it's like if one of the Stranger Things kids became the Doctor. If one of the cast of Stranger Things ended up becoming a reoccurring character on the show, people would be like, former Stranger Things star, but and stuff. So I think the reason why they're doing Barbie publicity, making the TARDIS pink, and the reason why they're making such a huge song and dance about Shooty is because he is a rising star. He's and he would have been a rising star without Doctor Who. So
I agree.
I think if he'd have never decided to become the Doctor, he'd have went off and done something else, made a huge Hollywood film career out of himself, and and clearly he can make a splash, he can get attention. So I think that's one of the big reasons why Doctor Who is hugely getting behind him, because I'm not saying that David Tennant wasn't a rising star, or Matt Smith wasn't, but Matt Smith was very, very early on in his career. He was 26 or 27 when he got the part. So people like David Tennant and Matt Smith, as much as they would have gotten roles, and they're very talented, and they definitely would have gotten some parts here and there, but they would be nowhere near as big as they were after Doctor Who. And I can freely admit that, despite how much I love those actors. But Shooty, he would have been big regardless of Doctor Who. So that's why I think BBC is getting behind Shooty Gatwa more than Shooty Gatwa getting behind Doctor Who. Well, I think he is getting behind Doctor Who.
Well, I agree. I believe that Doctor Who is a star-making role, and that's at its best. Even though they installed people like Capaldi, who was largely what wasn't a household name, but was pretty well known, and various others. I think that when it has its greatest effect does tend to be when they pluck somebody out of an ensemble show, and like All Creatures Great and Small with Davison, and springboard them from that. I'm still hoping that this is right, because in all sincerity, I still believe in Shooty Gatwa. I still like what I see for the most part, and like what I hear for the most part. Yeah. But when somebody goes out dressed like this, I've only got so much generosity to give. Corvin says in the chat, he looks just like Skagra from Sharda. Of course he does. He looks like his little brother, doesn't he? Yeah. Lord Thoth says this is a casting. The casting is a disaster. See, maybe Lord Thoth's seen his other stuff. I haven't at the moment. I'm sort of in ignorance, I suppose, because I've never seen Sex Education, all those things, as I've seen many times, as I've said many times. I can't see Shooty as the Doctor yet. I can be convinced, but it's getting more and more unlikely every day. This is what he's choosing to wear. This is Shooty Gatwa. This isn't the Doctor. But even so, I could not talk about this. Rising star for those under 40, says Matthew Pounder. Is that a good thing or a bad thing, Matthew? Well, I mean, that's as it should be, isn't it, Charlotte?
I think it's you need to get that mixture, don't you? Because for younger people, it'd be great for them. If he's good enough, I think what the good thing is that older audiences will warm to him if he's good in the part. And if he manages to make the part enough, he will get a brand new set of audience. So I think Doctor Who can really help in that regard to get somebody of his age right now to introduce him. Because most people who we're talking about, who don't do this Netflix thing, who don't do streaming, probably never would have known about Shooty, but they'll know him through the show. So if he's good, it would be brilliant. And on that note, I'm going to have to go. So see you
lovely to have you aboard as always, Charlotte. We'll see you next time for more. Take care. Night. Bye. Mark Milford asks Sarah, could Peter Capaldi have worn that outfit? Well, I suspect we'll never know.
No.
In the 70s, I think he could have gotten away with it.
As much as I would like to see Peter Capaldi's legs, no.
I'd love to see David Tennant in that outfit.
With the suits and the cuffs and the hair, the David Bowie type. Yeah.
Hey, I've seen David Tennant in a kilt multiple times. Well, we all have. We must have seen pictures. He's Scottish.
Yeah,
so,
at weddings and things.
So seeing his legs,
You know what would have been good, though? It's as like this joint promotion for both. If they'd done Shoot It, being like an actual Ken, but instead of like these bizarre costumes that I'm sure Dan's going to go into in a minute, it's the Doctor's. I'd like to see him in Hartnell's outfit, and then Pertwee's. I'd like, I thought that'd be really nice. Tie in with the anniversary, we could see him with the waistcoat with the question marks on the celery and everything. And he'd probably rock them all. He'd probably look really cool on them, but no, we get this instead.
Who knows? Maybe in the Barbie movie, he was cast as Doctor Who while he was filming it. So maybe he's worked in a reference or something. Maybe he's asked the director, "Can I please, I don't know, put a question mark pin on my thing or something?" Like he might have worked in something.
Or a long scarf or something. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
It is possible because obviously Ryan Gosling has gone on record, as they say, hasn't he? He's a big Doctor Who fan. I think he has not a recent thing either. I think he has since he was a boy. Ryan Gosling's Australian, isn't he, Matt?
No, he's American.
Or he's from New Zealand?
I
thought he was
no,
in, but wasn't
he
in?
Play Young
he was in
Hercules.
Yeah, he was in the New Zealand show Young Hercules.
Yeah,
That's why I assumed that he was from New Zealand. Oh, okay,
no, he's American.
Okay. That's told me. Yes. So that's Barbie. That's Barbie. That's out next week. That's out next week, and it stars to some extent or another. It stars Ncuti Gatwa alongside A-listers Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. There. Yes. If you are going to go and see this,
Sorry.
What?
That pink car is in it more than.
What's that, Sarah? Sorry.
The car that she's driving.
Well,
she leaves all that behind, doesn't it? It's just her and Ken for most of the movie. Her and Ryan Gosling. So.
Yeah, because they go into the real world apparently.
Oh
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Absolutely.
Oh, I see. Oh well, that's
like Lego.
I'm not sure what to make of that. It's the real world. The real world. Who wants to go there, Ian? Who wants to go there?
Who wants to? Well, we see it in our modern day TV shows, don't we?
So are you going to trek out to see Barbie to get a glimpse of Ncuti Gatwa there in between the cars and the proper A-listers to get some idea of how he could be, the charisma of the man, if not the exact same performance, just to get a hook on something that he can do on his range? Or do you just like the look of the Barbie movie and you'd probably go and see it anyway? Let us know in the comment section.
Greetings, I am K9. If you have an inquiry and Siri or Alexa cannot help, maybe I can. Have you ever wondered if time travel is possible? Or what can a sonic screwdriver do? I may have the answers. Please leave your questions in the comments below.
All dressed up and nowhere to go, it seems, everybody. A lot of Doctor Who fans out there who thought that, come the end of July, specifically from Wednesday the 19th of July till the 22nd, that was going to be a shoo-in for when we were going to hear or see more from the Doctor Who production team, or the all-new Doctor Who production team, specifically with the presence by Russell T Davies, David Tennant or Ncuti Gatwa, ideally all of them, at San Diego Comic-Con for 2023. But it does look like that's not going to happen after all. As predicted by Kyle Wagner on this show and on the podcast, it looks like, just like Marvel and DC, they are no-shows. Russell T Davies isn't going to be there either. There's going to be no Doctor Who panel. And that is that. So Russell did mention how he had hoped to be there, but that it wouldn't be that he couldn't make a promise. I wasn't really sure whether that would be logistically or something to do with the production schedule, or whether it was other outside forces. But the schedule has now been published, and the list of all the panels that are there. And it's not happening. It's just not happening. And San Diego Comic-Con this year is looking very thin on the ground, Ian. Have you been following this? Because obviously the big studios, they're not going to be there. It would have been an ideal time for Doctor Who to make a big splash and make a mark.
It would have
they shown up, but it's not bloody happening.
You're right. It would have been. This would have been a really good because none of the A-listers are showing. Is it Hall H is the one that they always. So there's no one there. So they could have taken full advantage of this and show Doctor Who and get the stars down and talk about what's happening in the series, and and Russell T could be, I mean, I'm pretty sure that they'll film.
Could have been doing the whole ringmaster routine, couldn't he?
They could have, but it just seems to me that they're not really. They're more investing in what they. I'm not going to go there, but they're not investing in Doctor Who as we know it, as far as I can see.
Who are we talking about now? Who are we talking about now? The BBC.
Just talking about just the whole BBC Disney way of looking at life. And
well, they seem behind it. They do seem behind it, but it does seem to be other forces. I suppose they should. You see, for my money, they should prioritise making the show as best as they can above everything else. But it does seem to be outside forces that have interfered. Specifically the writers' strike. That does seem to be the reason why a lot of people aren't going. Not that they've got nothing to sell, but because they don't want to, in effect, break a picket line of sorts, Ian. I mean, how up on the writers' strike are you? Because it's been going on for several weeks now. They've just said today, representatives of the WGA, haven't they, that they're not close to reaching an agreement, and the WGA themselves are not going to give any quarter. They're not going to take any compromise that's been offered to them.
But the studio has this strike is going to go on for a very long time. The studio says they are not going to cave into what they want. The studios have literally said that. So it looks like it's a stalemate.
Both parties won't budge, then.
Yeah. So it's going to be a long while before this is resolved. So I mean, my friends in LA, that they're saying the same thing. They're saying there's no work anywhere in LA. The things that have been written before the strike, they are shooting at the moment because they're allowed to do that according to the rules. But new stuff that's being written and going forward, that's all been stopped. The writers seem to be fully committed to getting what they want, and the studios seem to be fully committed and not giving them what they want. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the future, put it that way.
A lot of attention I'm seeing, Sarah, is focusing on gripes over the perceived rise of artificial intelligence taking writers' jobs away from them. But I actually get the impression it's a lot more layered than that. There are a lot more shades of grey.
Well, no, there is one argument where they're wanting certain 6 writers in a writer's room.
Yeah.
But for whatever they're doing, I'm like, well, the show might not need, we've seen it before, too many chefs in the kitchen. I think that's a very odd request to...
No, I think, Sarah, I think the idea is that they're not making TV shows at 24 episodes anymore. And so that's how they used to make their living, the writers. So there'd be like a table full of writers, and then they'll think about the story and they'll make 24 episodes. Now they're paring it down to 8 episodes, sometimes even 12, which means they're getting less work. Plus the intervention of AI. Because the Marvel show, the war thing, I can't remember, with Samuel L. Jackson, that beginning was made by AI. So they're just scared that AI and the lack of work is going to destroy their livelihood. So that's why they're on strike. That's 2 of the reasons. I'm sure there's plenty more why they're on strike. So
well, it's, as I understand it, any writers, including showrunners on American shows, are prevented by the strike action from taking part in convention panels, even to promote shows for studios. Disney, as we know, are going to be the global home distributor for Doctor Who via Disney Plus itself. They had to scrap their plans. They were going to be there to represent their various productions. Now, whilst Doctor Who, we know that Doctor Who is not an American show with American writers. Russell T Davies recently was out in public, wasn't he? He was at an event in London where British writers have come out to support those working overseas, particularly in the States, which I'm not sure if that's a standard thing. I don't think I've ever seen an international picket line like that before. And Russell said some of his usual kind of very, in my view, wherever I believe that everybody has a right to strike, and that's very, very important. But I found some of the things that Russell was saying were rather outlandish and exaggerated and very kind of bloated the way a lot of his speeches tend to be nowadays. It's quite disconcerting. But I do respect the right to strike, but I also feel that the quality of the work by these people over the last 5 or 6 years has been lower than a snake's.
Yeah,
belly
but
button.
Dan, it's not their fault. I mean, the actual structure of Hollywood now, as I hate to use this word woke, but it's become that. And basically, what they're doing is they're hiring writers with less experience because of what they're into and what Hollywood's into, and the real writers are not really getting any work. They've been kicked out.
Oh, I see.
You know what I mean? So this might be one of the reasons why. Another reason why they're striking. I don't know. But according to my friends in LA, the actors are going to go on strike soon. So they'll all be on strike. Nothing will move at all in Hollywood. So
that's a Screen Actors Guild. They're preparing to come out on strike as well, James. It's not looking very good, isn't it? And it's unfortunate, if we're being selfish, it's just unfortunate that this is timed with the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible timing. And I mean, it's fine now because, 60th specials are in the can. And they're just sat there waiting to be broadcast. And series 14, the finale's nearly finished filming anyway. So it's just series 15 might not budge. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Russell T Davies did give an update on series 15. I think he said quite early on when series 14 was shooting. I think he did say that series 15 he's already started writing for that, and but I don't know with the Writers Guild if that's going to affect it, or this all seems to be mainly happening in America. But I don't know if Russell is going to put a stop to an immediate stop to writing, or if actors are going to go on strike here in Britain out of solidarity for.
It does appear that Equity are going to come out as well to support the Screen Actors Guild.
Yeah, so it's. I mean, as someone that is a I want to be an actor and a screenwriter as well. So I do kind of see this and I'm in total support of it. I'm not too fond of the idea of the only thing that gives me solace in life, the only thing that gives me joy in this sometimes joyless world, which is movies and TV, and especially tip top of that list is Doctor Who. So it does make me a little nervous if all of those things are put a stop to because of this. But at the same time, I got to know where my heart is and just be like, I agree with.
Also,
well, let's just look at this comment from Michelle. Let's just look at this comment a moment from Michelle Hamilton, because I wanted to put this to you in particular, Ian. The main complaint from the writers, I didn't know this, is royalties over streaming content. Now that could be pertinent to Doctor Who, couldn't it?
Yes, but I wanted to ask you a question, Dan. Do you think, because Doctor Who's linked with Disney now, and Disney's an American company, do you think that's going to stop production because
well, it looks like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it affects America. But going on this question, yes, that is one of the reasons why they are on strike, because as I said, they're not making 24 episodes anymore, and also the shows that are being made now are for streaming, and that's a different kind of world than it is network TV. With network TV, when you sign a contract as a writer, you get residuals if something plays in other countries and stuff like that. So your money's coming in if you're not working, so you kind of rely on that to survive. But because now the whole system is with streaming, that's a whole different ball game now, and they're making less episodes now as well. So, and they're not giving residuals to people; they're giving one-off payments and stuff like that. So, maybe they've got a right to go on strike. No,
maybe some of that does sound. I mean, I understand that we're in a time at the moment, a transformative time, Matt, where they call it the streaming wars for a little while. I'm not sure if it ever really happened, whether it's only just starting or whether it's even over. I don't know, because lots of streaming platforms did get sort of sucked into others, didn't they? Whether that's a real thing, but it has changed the landscape, hasn't it, of entertainment domestically and internationally. And I suppose it's kind of shrunk. It's shrunk the world, hasn't it? The distance between people, because a lot of actors and writers and directors, come to think of it, people like Rachel Talalay, they work just as much in the States as they do in Britain. So I suppose being objective, it's understandable that in the modern world, when we have global streaming platforms, they become global problems.
Yeah, they have it. It's been going on for a long time. Before streaming, they had this thing called syndication, which is, there was a huge thing with Star Trek when that first came out. And, of course, it disappeared after 3 years.
Of course, yeah.
But because it continued on in syndication on repeats, I believe they only could run their episodes 4 times, and then they stopped getting residuals altogether. So this is just another version of it, really. And I think I can guarantee that if they get their way, we are going to be paying more for streaming services. We may even be paying per TV show, just so that it pays the actors, and the writers and everybody else. So, it sometimes it can be a good thing too. Like a lot of writers and that, because they know that they can't write for television or whatever, they'll go off and do their own thing and create their own thing. And there's been some things created through the fact that they haven't been allowed to write for, whatever show's going on at the moment. So there is some creativity there as well. But
no, I see what you mean.
I really think that this is just another version of syndication, and it'll, I remember the last time they did it was about 2007, 2008, somewhere around.
Because obviously the
there.
syndication really took off, didn't it, in the mid to late 60s, and it's a staple of particularly American broadcasting. We've got the rising cable not long after that, and now the stream. So with all these things that drastically change the landscape, I suppose it makes sense that things may need to be renegotiated. Cam's Crash Course is asking here in the live chat on YouTube, what happened to making a season of TV? 26 episodes. Less was a mini-series. Am I off base? I wouldn't say off base, but I think you're, if I may say, you're a little bit behind the times there. I think things have changed. And in the days where we got 26 episodes of stuff, mostly American shows, I don't know where you are, Cam, there was a tendency, I think we all knew, Ian, where some of the episodes in that 26 were the weeks where I wouldn't say they tried any less, but where they had less money to go around, the bottle episodes, to actors or novelty episodes. Characters would disappear for a couple of weeks. And I think in the modern age of television, that puts probably more people off a show than it does get them on board with it. I think the habit of being there for something every week, when you can just stream it or catch up, I think that has kind of killed a need to be there 26 weeks of the year with something new. What do you think?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the TV has changed, and also people like us, I don't know what generation we are. X, I can't remember, but we're used to seeing a show every week and waiting for the next show next week and stuff. But we had to wait. But now,
I still love doing that.
Yeah, so do I.
Well, this generation didn't know how to wait, and now they've got like the binge model.
Doctor Who's kind of the only show that I do that for now, where I watch it week after week. Everything else I stream, I binge watch, but Doctor Who is something that I still religiously watch during live broadcast when it comes out. Honestly, I'm still like, okay, I don't care what anyone does Saturday night. I'm not available, right? So don't ask me to do anything. I'm not available.
And you weren't alone. Doctor Who, it wasn't the very last of those shows. I think Downton Abbey just about managed to get in there as well. Right. But it was the final 2 shows that were like that were Doctor Who and Downton Abbey. I understand that Line of Duty managed to tap into that a little.
But the older viewers, Dan, the older viewers watch. I don't know anyone young that watched, apart from Charlotte, of course, watched that show personally. I mean, in the circle that I'm in. But yeah, I mean, TV has changed a lot, and also we're in a generation where people look at their phones now and they watch.
Yeah, they consume their
fighting to stay
content.
up there. Coronation Street's fighting to stay up there. They have no chance against the TikTok generation and people that just looking at their phones rather than sitting down and sparing 2 hours or an hour and a half to watch a TV show. It's a completely different generation today. So, you know,
Michelle's got another interesting point here before we move on slightly. Part of the problem is that streaming services have inflated viewing figures, which is not reflected in what's been paid to the writers. So this could be a problem of their own invention. They've massaged figures to make, and so the writers have said, well, if you say all these people are watching this stuff, why are you only paying me X?
Yeah.
You can understand that too. That's really interesting, Michelle. Thank you very much for these comments, because I just know what I've read in a few articles there. But yeah. So Doctor Who obviously seems a little caught up in this, and it does seem to be the reason that Russell T Davies isn't going to be at Comic-Con, which I think is a desperate shame, and yet another kind of blight on what could have been a sensational anniversary year. I didn't expect 12 months of constant heat on this brand, particularly from the place it was in, but to be there at Comic-Con, I think would have been a major success.
Having been at Comic-Con, I've been in a situation where I've met a couple of the producers or something of the show, and I'll tell you, they don't have a clue about the show, what the show's about or anything. And isn't that strange? I don't think it's changed at all. Since then.
Producers of Doctor Who, or
no, not Doctor Who. Other science fiction shows and that American. Right. I'm talking about American shows and that sort of thing, because they're just going there for a bit of a free free trip or whatever to promote something, but they don't know anything about the show itself.
Yeah,
and it's like, and I was really shocked by that. I was just like. She's like, oh, I'm just doing this sci-fi show, and it's like, and then she told me, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's a fairly big show. I mean, I'm not a fan of it.
Talking about,
was this like Star Trek
fairly big shows
or something?
Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry,
talking about fairly big shows. Talking about fairly big shows, we spoke to earlier on about Good Omens 2. So they're in the dead of the publicity drive for this show at the moment. We've got Michael Sheen and David Tennant out and about promoting it, and the writer and co-creator of Good Omens, Neil Gaiman too. So he's been there as well. Neil Gaiman, obviously a comics writer of 35, nearly 40 years standing, very well respected writer with a massive fan base. And he's often drawn on the subjects of Doctor Who. Obviously, he wrote 2 Doctor Who stories all the way back in the Matt Smith era. But it seems that some people have forgotten about this. And just this week, James, he was challenged about this on Tumblr. Now, I had no idea that Tumblr was still a thing, that it even still existed. But somebody asked him the question directly on Tumblr, and they said, this was somebody called Pan Fried Toast, said, hello and good day, Mr. Gaiman. I just had a question for you. If given the opportunity, would you ever want to work on Doctor Who? Maybe just writing it for 1 or 2 episodes or something bigger than that. And Gaiman stepped in and said, I don't ever want to show-run Doctor Who. I loved writing the episodes and stories I've already written, and I'd love to write another one day when things are quieter. I don't know if he means quieter for him or quieter for the brand. But what do you think of that there? Are you a fan of Gaiman from his other work? What do you think of his Doctor Who stories? Do you think this is any great loss?
The Doctor's Wife is one of my favourite Doctor Who episodes ever. Hands down, because it's just such a unique story. It can't ever happen again, and if it does, stupid.
I loved it as well.
Yeah, it's such a unique concept. The TARDIS becomes a person and is able to speak, and for the first time, I remember when that episode came out, I was just absolutely bowled over by the concept alone, and I just absolutely loved it. I loved Matt Smith's chemistry with Saran Jones, who played the TARDIS. I can't remember actually what the other character's name is. The body that the TARDIS possesses.
Idris.
Idris, that's the one. Thank you very much. So great chemistry with Saran Jones. This is the only female character in Doctor Who that I am happy with the Doctor being flirty with. River Song, bugger off. Right? A physical embodiment of the TARDIS is the only woman that the Doctor should be allowed to be flirty or romantic with, in my opinion. It annoyed me to hell with Buzz Tyler. It annoyed me to hell with River Song. So I was like, the TARDIS, yes. So Neil Gaiman is an absolute brilliant writer for just this concept alone. Wasn't a big fan of his episode from later on with Nightmare and Silver. I found Matt Smith's performance as, what did he call himself in that?
He was the controller, wasn't he? He was the cyber controller in that.
Or something, Mr. Clever. I just found his performance in that to be a bit cringy. And, he's meant to be the ruler of all Cybermen.
It was a strange story, and I think a little higher concept than the series could quite reach at that point. Certainly over a single episode, it was a lot less successful. But I agree with you about the Doctor's wife, and I generally, again, Neil Gaiman is one of those characters. When you see him being interviewed, when you see him quoted, Matt, you're there shrugging. Anybody who's been following Gaiman's work and the things that he said as part of the comics world knows this guy. He blows a lot of smoke up his own arse quite a lot, doesn't he? He's a very particular kind of man, but then again, he's a kind of low-level genius as well. He did sort of revolutionise comic storytelling, didn't he?
Yeah, I know that people are huge into Sandman and everything like that, and to me, he's a bit contradictory to himself. He's just whatever. He just says whatever anyone wants to hear. Really, I'm not the biggest fan of his work, especially on Doctor Who. Or I don't. That's part of the reason why I didn't like Good Omens. I started watching the first episode and I just switched off. So yeah, I'm not the biggest fan. I know he had a bit of controversy about a couple of years ago for that Sandman TV series or whatever, and he told a lot of people to do one. But I've
forgotten about that series completely.
Yeah. Oh, they're making a second one.
Are they really? Wow.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want him to showrun because I think he gets too carried away with himself. He's a bit like a conflict type character. He needs somebody to rein him in. Coming back for a one-off episode, I do like the Doctor's Wife. I think it's very touching story. It's very unique. It's very dark, and I love that. I like Doctor Who stories to be dark. Nightmare in Silver. There were parts in it that I like. It started off very dark, I hated the kids. But it was kind of cool.
But you know what? Out of that new series, that is I've seen it's actually a meme, that particular episode. People just can't stand that episode. It's like Love and Monsters,
But I mean, wasn't it supposed to be a two-parter? So I do think it was done.
Oh, was it? No, I didn't know that.
There was a lot of behind-the-scenes shenanigans with it.
Yeah, I remember reading that. Yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't say no to coming back. But yeah, I don't think it'd be a particularly good showrunner. But yeah, I think he's a bit overrated myself. I think he's okay. I mean, I like Good Omens, but I like it because it's a Terry Pratchett. It was a joint thingy with Terry Pratchett. And I think...
I didn't see any Terry Pratchett in it whatsoever, though, Sarah. I didn't see any of it. I just saw Neil Gaiman through it.
It was more the humour. And,
he's a very particular...
They adapted it all, have they? That's why this is a good series.
He's a very particular writer, Neil Gaiman, and I think between those two episodes, and it's fair to say that generally speaking, it's accepted that of the two episodes Neil Gaiman has written for Doctor Who, that one is a good one and one was a bad one, and that's that. But his work generally, you can't really argue that he made a hell of a mark, and he's very well respected in his chosen field. I'd like to see him come back to Doctor Who, but only if he had an idea. Only if he had an idea that was sufficiently developed and that the series could cope with, and they were willing to put the time and the production into. But the reason why this piqued my interest is because I remember Neil Gaiman talking at length, Ian, when this was in the run-up, this was in the Peter Capaldi era, because he said how much he loved Capaldi as an actor. And so people, the fan press and the genre press, asked him, so does this mean you're going to write for Doctor Who again? He said, oh, no, I'm too busy, but I'll write for it when the Doctor's a woman. And of course, eventually the Doctor
Was a
apparently.
woman.
Was a woman.
Oh my
but
God!
Neil
no way
Gaiman.
that Jodie Whittaker would have been able to cope with a Neil
No
Gaiman.
chance. But Neil Gaiman was nowhere to be seen. He didn't come back. So I kind of think, yeah, whatever, mate, as you were. But I did get to thinking about writers when they return to work. Obviously, who are we going to find on Doctor Who? Because we're now getting closer and closer to series 14 screening. We believe it's starting next March. It's about to finish filming of those 8 episodes, and yet we still have no idea who else is writing these aside from Russell T Davies. Who's he roped in? Are they going to be new people, or are they going to be?
Well, he said he didn't want
dependable
new people. Remember
and connections.
Remember, he said he's slagged off this new generation of writers.
Well, he didn't say they didn't want new people, but he did criticise
the
quality of a lot of the crop of writers that he's come across working in. And I saw that. I believe that was a shot fired firmly in the direction of Chris Chibnall's writing room, even though they are now cast to the winds. I think the timing of that spoke volumes, Sarah. I think it was very clear what he meant by that.
You've had no information on new writers then, Dan, on
none at all.
Wow.
Not mentioned one.
And so I thought it'd be a nice thing just to catch up with you and to ask you simply, if you were to, looking back through the history of Doctor Who, new or classic Doctor Who, are there any writers that stick in your head that, just like when we were talking about Matt Smith at the top of the show, are there any writers that you've got to mind, James, where you think that they had some gas left in the tank? Why did that person only write 1 episode or two episodes or 3? Why haven't they come back? Is there anybody that springs to mind?
Well, me and Matthew talked about this subject many moons ago. In fact, no, actually, we talked about it last time we went out for a drink. I think we got quite a bit into who would love to come back, and we both said simultaneously Robert Sheeman, who wrote the series 1 episode Dalek, which me and Matthew still attend to this day that there's never been a Dalek episode in the modern era, at least, topped since that episode. And well, that's just my own opinion, but they haven't been able to top that, not with all the other episodes written by writers where there's like an army of Daleks, just one Dalek, and that was literally the most. And I don't mean that just nostalgically. I've rewatched the episode since very recently, actually, and it still very much holds up as one of the great Dalek stories. It just kind of, I don't know, just like it introduces a whole generation of audience to Daleks, but just kind of settles them into it with just one. It's like, okay, you think like 1 is bad, and then you call it the end of series 1. Think of like the emperor of all freaking Daleks. So Robert Sheeman is definitely one of them. And
it's such a tight story, though, isn't it? Just story-wise, there's not a single scene wasted. All the characters are there that are speaking, have a very functional part of the story. And so you think, why on earth wouldn't a writer like Rob Sheeman return to the show? I mean, he's gone on to be a novelist. He's written several other Doctor Who stories for other mediums. But allegedly there was a fallout between Rob and Russell T Davies. Have you heard about that, Sarah?
I don't really know the ins and outs.
No, nobody does, to be honest. I mean, there are probably a few people that do know, but I don't know.
So are we saying that Russell T wrote all of it? Every episode of the new series?
We don't. We have. This is it, Ian. We just don't know.
Interesting.
Now I was going to say what James was talking about. Robert made you take a Dalek seriously because for those who were new to the show. I mean, I knew what a Dalek was. But I knew what a Dalek because it was on a Kit Kat advert when I was growing up. They'd become, this kind of ridicule thing, not to be taken seriously. And he just went and he was like, right, you laughed at the plunger. I'm going to kill somebody in a horrible way with it. You think we can't go upstairs? I'm going to do this. Because obviously a lot of us wouldn't have seen remembrance of the Daleks, and they just and it was absolutely terrifying, and that was just one, like James said.
I I hit a goddamn pillow over my face when I saw that Dalek sucking on that guy's face to death, and his last words were literally, "What are you going to do with that? Sucker me to death?" And it literally just went onto his face. I was like, oh my god, and just scared so much.
It never occurred to me that a Dalek would be able to get all the information from the internet just by plugging in. And that's a great idea.
I know. I love that idea. I love the idea of the Dalek fixing itself. Well, I don't know about it fixing itself physically with information. Like I didn't really get that. The Dalek was in such a bad way, and then, but I love how at first the Dalek is something that you sympathize with.
Yeah.
It's this creature that for some reason you don't know why. But because as a fresh fit, obviously we know the Daleks were. Personally, I'm sick of the Daleks appearing now. But then I was like, okay, why is the Doctor so angry at this thing? Why is he so angry? And that was so fascinating to me because this was a creature that I was so sympathizing towards. The Doctor wants to kill this thing, wants to kill it so badly. And this was the first time we'd seen the Doctor be like that, so seething with anger towards this one creature. And I was like, okay, this thing's got to be bad in some way for the Doctor to act like this. But at the same time, I was also going, until it killed like a room full of guards and that.
Soldiers, yeah.
Looking at Matthew Pounder's comment here, he says a lot of Dalek was rewritten by Russell T Davies, or written by Russell T Davies, and that is true. I mean, this is something that he's spoken about at great length. But apparently, Russell rewrote masses of pretty much everybody's scripts, certainly for series 1 and 2. I'm not sure about 3 and 4. He's been quoted as saying that the only person's script that he didn't effectively rewrite were Stephen Moffat's contributions. But that accepted, I think Rob has proven himself in that he's still a writer now. He's still very well respected. He's not somebody who only writes Doctor Who or indeed only writes science fiction. So I agree with you. I think going back to Rob 15, 20 years on, if you count Jubilee, since writing that, since creating that, I think it's unfortunate that he hasn't written for the show again. Like I say, I don't know what went on between Russell and Rob, but it's a shame to think it could be a barrier. Maybe he doesn't want to do it again because lots of other writers don't know. Gareth Roberts doesn't want to write for Doctor Who again, and he's not alone. Lots of them don't. They feel that it's done. But I don't know with Rob Sherman. I think it's a great pick, James. How about you, Ian? Is there anybody that sticks in your head from Doctor Who, new series or classic?
No,
where you think they had something?
I think Russell T is he needs someone to rein him in. I reckon a lot of this stuff is going to be pushing everything, especially the shooty one. I hope not. But when you have someone that has all that power, that there's nobody to fight against them and say where they're going wrong and stuff like that, then they usually do something that's really bad. You just got to look at the prequels of Star Wars. Nobody was telling George Lucas they were bad. No one.
No,
so we just carried on.
I'm talking about people who we would get to work under him, though. If he was thinking, okay, I want to make this. These 8, we've said before, we said last week, all of these 8 have got to count. There can't be any dead wood. Not like Cam mentioned in the live chat earlier on about the era of 26 episode seasons of something. You could afford to have a couple of dud weeks in that when you're only making 8 every year. Each one of them has got to be worth that slot. That's why I'm getting so frustrated with Star Trek Strange New Worlds. They've got 10 and they're squandering them. I don't want Doctor Who to squander them. I'd like to think who's Russell put in place?
Yeah, but if we weren't living in this era, right, and the 60th was happening, we would have had a list of writers. We'd have had what monsters were appearing.
Not every writer is woking.
We've got Jinx Monsoon coming up.
Don't mind us.
I mean, the question isn't about wokeness. The question is about are there any good writers out there?
Yeah, I'm just saying, right, that this is the reason why we haven't got any information about new writers because of this. So, and in fact, the only writer I thought that was good in Doctor Who, in the new Golden Hue, as they're calling it now, Russell T and Moffat. I thought those 2 writers were terrific. I'd like Moffat to come back again, personally.
Oh God, no!
I think he was a good writer personally. He did a good job.
He was better as a writer than a showrunner.
Yeah, but when he was in charge, that's when he kind of just went all crazy, didn't it? Because nobody was stopping him. There was no one to stop him.
That's my point exactly, Ian. I always thought that like Stephen Moffat needed someone to go, okay, Stephen, calm down, okay, maybe don't do that. Try something else. No one was there to say no.
Yeah, exactly.
And I wish that he definitely had that, because there were definitely stories where he went down an avenue that he didn't even know how to finish. So he would start a series really strong with The Impossible Astronaut and Day of the Moon, and then that story kind of went down this rabbit hole.
Didn't have to finish it.
Yeah, and he was like, oh crap, now I've got to write this crappy episode, The Wedding of River Song. So, and then Hellbent, don't even get me started.
Yeah, don't even mention Hellbent. Yeah.
That is for a whole other podcast that I can rant about. But
I've got a comment here from Jackady who said most of the Satan Pit two-part was written by Russell. Well, that was the writer of that one was a guy called Matt Jones, was it? Who was a writer in Doctor Who magazine that Russell had kind of taken under his wing. Russell's spoken recently, Sarah, about the fact that he does act as a mentor to young writers, which I think is really admirable.
Funnily enough, I was going to choose Matt Jones because I loved that Satan Pit two-parter.
Matt has gone on to success, mostly in the theatre, as I understand it. But I think this is the context in which Russell was asked about modern writers. It was on a podcast. He was talking about creativity generally, and he was talking about the mentorship program and how he's continually sort of kind of butting heads with young writers coming to him with scripts that are absolutely bloody awful, and he's having to give them the hard news, so to speak. But with Matt Jones, it's somebody who, and I think it was the same with a lot of the writers, whether they were young or not. He took a real interest in what they were doing and worked with them on it. So to get Matt Jones back, you think that to bring him back to the show, would that have been your pick, or would you have gone somewhere else?
Yeah, I'm torn. And again, I go back to like this theme of light darkness, because I like my Doctor Who stories dark. I love like the Hinchcliffe era. So anything like Matt Jones with Satan Pit, Jamie Matheson with, he did Flatline, Mummy on the Orient Express, and
I love that
Oxygen.
One.
These are the
Jamie Matheson is probably the most popular choice when this question does get asked. Yeah, a very, very popular writer and great episodes. And I've always felt there was definitely more gas in the tank where he was concerned. I understand he's now gone off and he's writing lots of other things. And he'd like to come back to the show, but nobody's asked him.
I'll ask him. Jamie, come back.
Come back, Jamie.
Because there were interesting concepts, and I always think Matheson's work stands out for me because I think, other than Stephen Moffat, he was the only one who really clicked with Capaldi's Doctor. I think the 12th Doctor shone in Matheson's episodes.
I agree.
And they were scary. They're genuinely scary, especially the
he seemed to have the energy and the ideas that I think Stephen Moffat was starting to wane at that time. And we've got a comment here in the live chat from Jackady, which I think is a bit strong. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, Jackady, but I think the idea that Moffat is a terrible writer and not suited to Doctor Who, that's a tough sell. I think he's written more Doctor Who than anybody else. Yeah. And I genuinely, personally, I still believe that most of it is still pretty damn good.
Yeah.
The problem is that when he was bad, it was really bad.
That's right.
You couldn't accuse Moffat of being meh, could you?
No.
11th Hour was brilliant. What can I say?
There's some good stuff later on as well. But Black Glove Studio asks, is it possible only Russell is writing all 8? Of course it's possible. But until we know, then I think it's unlikely because of the workload necessary to do that and to hit the schedules when he had to do that. I think it's unlikely, but it is possible. Mark Milford asks, what about Chris Carter from the X-Files and J. Michael Straczynski? No, but they've never written for Doctor Who before. I'm specifically asking which writers would you bring back? I feel that at this point for these 8 in particular, probably not so much for series 15. Once the Doctor is set, knows what he's doing, once the show's got a profile again, you can maybe bring new people in of any age. But I really do feel for this 8, this has to be people who know this show and know this character, that can serve that new actor and the new setup with the best possible material to make every single one count. That's how I look at it.
What about spin-offs? Is that different in your rules there, Dan? Like
not necessarily, but not necessarily.
Because I was wondering about Patrick Ness, who kind of didn't really get a chance to shine with Class. I
agree.
And was kind of only allowed to do one season of that show after it didn't really get a lot of attention. So I think Patrick Ness needs to be given another shot, but I'll leave that alone.
Again, Patrick is a very established writer, very well respected, award-winning international writer, and yeah, I did wonder when he was running Class, maybe they were trying him out to see about having him run Doctor Who because he was a massive fan. But it does seem to be that the failure of Class, which I don't believe was necessarily Patrick's fault, it does seem that he's just gone off to do lots of other things. And again, he's gone on to be just as successful, in fact, more successful since Class ended or was curtailed than in the run-up. It hasn't hurt his career. It hasn't hurt his career at all. Jackety speculates here that the reason Russell T Davies let the original contracted writers keep their credits even after he had rewritten it all was so they could keep all the royalties. Well, maybe.
Well, in the contract, isn't it? I mean, if he, he's got to give them credit for the writing that they've provided, even if he does rewrite it. Do you know what I mean? So he's got to, because that's in their contract, I guess. So.
I'm going to say we're speculating. We're speculating here generally, and we've got several comments in the chat about diversity quotas and wokeness and all those things. And I do know where you're coming from, but that's not necessarily the question here. We're talking of our ideal scenario, not necessarily a cynical sort of all current days or crap. We know what's going on in the current day, but let's try and sort of top ourselves up with a little optimism, or speak generally about ideals that we'd like, because that's what Doctor Who fans have always done, I think, Sarah. Jackety does say he'd bring back Simon Nye. Amy's Choice was the best of Series 5. Very popular episode. Haven't seen it for a long time.
Scary. I found that scary, that episode. I don't know about you guys.
I was scared of pensioners for weeks.
And Simon Nye, mostly a comedy writer, behaving badly, Is It Legal, all that stuff, very successful sitcoms and comic plays, farces and things like that. And he had been a novelist, but again, they were mostly comic novels. When I saw that he was joining the writing staff, I was a big fan of his. I was thrilled. I would never have imagined that he would turn in something like Amy's Choice. A real revelation for me. So Matt, have you got any writers that you're thinking of? They can be classic series or new series writers.
Yeah, no, I was just always annoyed. I was just always annoyed that never ever brought Terrence Dix back, even just for one episode, because Terrence was. If you watch the commentaries with the classic series with the commentaries when the new show was running, he was very critical of the new series, and and I thought, and also the fact that because he was script editor and everything in the original one too, because he used to have to mark out that we wouldn't be able to afford that or anything like that. There was a bigger budget in the newer series, and I think he could have done some more with that. And the fact that he didn't want to have a sonic screwdriver, he reckoned he used it like a magic wand, which he did. There's no doubt that he did, and so I think he would have brought some magic back to New Who that was I feel has been missing from the beginning.
Yeah. Are there any writers though that are still with us ideally?
Oh yeah, well he was with us for a long time though.
Yeah,
you know what
true,
I mean?
Yeah.
But I think I would love Alan Moore. I would love an Alan Moore story.
Oh yeah.
And I know that they've been teetering on the edge, and but also John Michael Straczynski as well, as also a Doctor Who fan, and he was willing to go for showrunner at some stage.
They're not getting the question, are they? Yeah, he was.
No, I know who you mean, but there's no real new story from the modern era that I've loved. You know, and I just
so even though
there's
when you hear
always
James
been
talk so beautifully about Dalek there and how seeing
I
that's
never
kind of
liked that
rocked his
episode.
world. No, but is there any episode that has rocked you in the same way? I think it's fantastic. I agree with everything you said, James. But is there anything that's really sort of hit you that hard? There must be something that's sort of, if not kept you awake at night in your 30s or your 40s, but something where you thought, wow, that didn't go where I thought it would go.
You know, I tell you what, there was that the Dole episode with Matt Smith, the one with the little kid. That
Night Terrors?
Yeah, Night Terrors. Who wrote that one, Dan?
Mark Gatiss.
Oh, ouch! Yeah, no,
Mark Gatiss is
Mark
a very
Gatiss
surprising.
back. Yeah.
He's a very surprising and inconsistent contributor towards Doctor Who.
Yeah, no, I think you know what, Mark Gatiss could probably do another episode. I think
He probably
I think
will
he's
be.
better than Gaiman. I think he's better than.
He probably will be.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say that probably the Holy Trinity will be RTD, Moffat, and Gatiss.
Yeah, he's probably one on the writing staff. He probably is, knowing those three. So
Matthew Pounder reminds us that the late great Bob Baker, who was a guest on Type 40 Live, wasn't he, in our earliest days? He'd asked to work on New Doctor Who, and Russell T Davies turned him down. It wasn't just Bob either. He turned down several classic series writers. Point blank turned them down. I mean, respectfully turned them down.
Yeah.
And,
he turned around and he did say that this Doctor Who is not a pension plan. Is what he said.
He said that several years later. I think when he actually spoke to the gentleman in question, though, I mean, certainly from what Bob said, he was quite respectful, and Bob respected in turn Russell's decision. He understood because Bob had, he was the showrunner of Shoestring and various other things, so he understood and he got it.
Love Shoestring.
Other writers, I think took it a little harder. Matt Pot, dead on, says Cam. Yes, good stuff. Yeah, it's gone down.
As long as
well.
I'm not dead, that's the main thing.
You're on though.
But there are several writers that stand out to me who I think could be brought back. I mean, I of course, how could we not talk about Jamie Matheson? I agree with everything you said, Sarah. This guy seems he just seems so right for Doctor Who, and it'd be a great shame if he doesn't come back. I like Phil Ford quite a lot. I think he's a great writer. His stories are fun. I think his stories are very family orientated in a way that. For example, I think Frank Cottrell Boyce, when he came in and wrote an episode of Doctor Who, in a way that he tried to be, but because he hadn't really written for television before, you could see it was sort of all over the map. I think that Phil Ford understands how to tell that kind of story in a much more serviceable way. So I'd like to see Phil back on the show. Neil Cross, the creator of Luther, he wrote The Rings of Akaton and Hyde all the way back in Series 7. And this was around the time that Luther, I think there were 2 seasons into Luther at that point, and he got the call from Moffat to do that. So he slotted those 2 Doctor Who's in. And
he's a good
again,
writer.
we've got a situation there, Ian, where people like one and tend not to like the other. But he is a good writer, isn't he? I mean, you've seen Luther. I haven't.
Yeah.
I think that if he was given a little more free reign, he'd probably turn it, and particularly with a few more years on the clock, I think it would be a bit. And with there being less episodes per season as well, maybe he'd have a bit more time to work on the script.
Well, he's a really good writer, but as you said, right, Russell T had rewritten some of the people, some of the scripts to suit his end. So you never know. The second one might have been rewritten by Russell T. I don't know. But I do know is
all be. I think all of it. That's the reason why.
The reason why I like him is because he
writes
writes very American. His whole outlook of characters and stuff it's very kind of based on the American TV shows and characters. And what he did with Luther is very, very American, especially the movie. If you watch the movie, it's very 24-ish. So I really like him as a writer, personally.
Rings of Akaton has that. I suppose Hyde does to a certain extent. I see what you're saying just in the 2 Doctor Who examples.
Yeah.
Well, I think he's a fascinating writer, and he did get. I think it's okay to talk about it now because a lot of people knew about it at the time. It was a bit of a secret at the time, but he was the one who was actively developing a rival to Doctor Who on ITV. He was going to bring back Sapphire and Steel as a big 21st century show, and it just didn't happen. And it was all a rights issue. The reason why it didn't happen, and I think that was the reason why he didn't write any more Doctor Who's because he got sort of caught up in making that. I can't remember who the other people on that. I did know it escapes me at the moment. What do people in the live chat think about that one? Time Heist was quite good. I can't remember who wrote Time Heist. I can't remember.
Mark Gatiss. No,
was it Mark Gatiss one as well?
No, it was Moffat, I think. Was it Moffat?
Don't know.
No, because normally the ones that Mark Gatiss writes, he inserts himself into them, and so that's why it's a little bit different.
You know
when he's
what,
not actually
Matt?
in it, because I
You're
think
right.
he's a lot better.
You're
yeah,
right,
I think
Matt.
he's a lot better when he's writing a show that he's not in.
Yeah, you're right. I think you're right there. I get you.
Problem being brings up a good point, because I think Gareth Roberts' style of writing, he fizzes with the dialogue, and I think that Dr. Donna banter and the Clara and Capaldi banter. I think I could imagine Shooty and Millie having some really good, lines of dialogue together, like bouncing off each other. So yeah, it is a shame that Gareth doesn't want to do it anymore.
No, he's.
I do understand why, Lee. I do understand why.
In all honesty, I think he made the decision before things happened to him, before he became a politically active figure, whatever they call it, a contentious figure. But I think it would be a great shame if he didn't write for the show, at least in literature again.
You're politically active.
Yeah. Mark Milford mentions this is another name that I was expecting would come up. Ben Aranovich, who wrote Remembrance of the Daleks and Battlefield. Ben is another person who's gone on to great success as a novelist. Several volumes now into the Rivers of London fantasy series, which are award-winning books, very, very popular. And the guy is always touring and doing signings all over Britain there. But those two Doctor Who stories, particularly the Dalek one, are stories that people latch onto, people like, and that have stayed with them, Matt. It's Ben Aranovich. I think that he's simply too busy to do it. I think I don't know, he seems very fond of Doctor Who still, because he gets interviewed about it a lot, but it's strange he hasn't been invited back, isn't it?
Yeah, I always found it weird that they brought back Graham Harper. But they you can tell Graham Harper's style with his direction.
With Graham, he was. I would say Doctor Who was actually it was the beginning of his directorial career, because in the 90s and in the 90s into the noughties, he'd done so much work. He was considered one of the best directors in television, and of course, when Doctor Who was the biggest show on television, and he had that. So I completely see why they got him back, but I don't know. I mean, he has written some very memorable episodes. Very memorable. I mean, you can't not think about Remembrance, so why he hasn't been brought back, I don't know. But look, there's just so many writers, and the problem is though a lot of them are deceased, unfortunately, and the modern ones have just gone off to other things to do other stuff.
So I think and I just think and I don't think that they'd actually come back to do an episode. I think they've just moved on. It was a step.
I think one point that has got to be made about wanting writers from previous years to come back and do it again is that it's difficult to name a writer, because a lot of the time the writers that we remember are ones that wrote big, like, serial stories in the classic era. And now, with Doctor Who having just singular episodes with occasional two-parters sprinkled in, it's difficult, I think, to name a writer. Because honestly, when Dan had messaged me and told me what the plans were for this podcast, I was genuinely struggling for writers. I was like, which writers wrote those episodes? What? I can't really remember. So it's difficult, really, because it's not that those episodes aren't memorable that they've written. It's that they're kind of it's became, since 2005, a very just a straightforward episodic one episode.
The tone of the show has become, I don't want to use the word homogenized, but it does have a feel of its own. It's not homogenized in the way that the MCU stuff is, where it all looks the same and feels the same. But new Doctor Who does have that kind of quality where there's a sort of house style. And people talk a lot about Toby Whithouse, for example. That this is a guy who, this is a dependable writer who's come back to Doctor Who and done various things. He's been on Doctor Who as an actor, and he's had great success with his own series, Being Human, and lots of other things that he's done. And he's a playwright as well. And I see why he's a popular choice to come back. But again, I know what you mean. For me, he's one of those writers where I look at his episodes and they have that kind of very house style feel to them. They don't, with the exception of School Reunion, they don't necessarily stand out to me conceptually. And so I'd liked him to come back because I think he's dependable, but I don't get excited about him either. And maybe that's on me.
Toby did the God Complex, and I thought that were really good.
It was good, yeah.
And he did Under the Lake and Before the Flood as well in series 9. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
I didn't connect with those, but I agree with. But they were. But you've said that they were like the God Complex series. They were quite high concept. Now I come to think of it, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe the problem is that we need a showrunner that actually looks at Doctor Who very differently to Russell T and Moffat, so that when we have new writers that come in, he can influence them in writing something that's new, rather than being a carbon copy of what went before. Something that will elevate Doctor Who to something else that's that we can all enjoy. Not to destroy or dismiss what's happened in Doctor Who, but to actually elevate it to something else. That's what we really need, really. But I don't know.
I would really like to see Pete McTighe because he wrote in the Chibnall era, and I didn't like his stories at all. But everything he's done for these box sets, I think, have been fantastic. And I can't understand, I can understand the disparities because Chris Chibnall and the way he ran things and what he wanted to do. But
he's a fucking joke, that man.
Yeah, I would like to
say what you mean, Dan.
You're right, Dan. But yeah,
the world's worst showrunner in the industry, Chris Chibnall.
Oh dear.
Because Pete McTighe, it's getting late. Pete McTighe is a massive talent. His show, I know I keep talking about it, but don't judge him on his 2 Doctor Who episodes. I think Kablam, I've got some time for Kablam. It's the only story of the Chris Chibnall era that did something I didn't see coming a mile away. Not so much with Praxius, but don't judge him on those 2. The people who are groaning about anybody connected with Chibnall, go and watch Wentworth. It's an amazing TV show, and look at his, as you say, Sarah. Look at those minisodes.
Who wrote Rosa, by the way?
Oh, some idiot.
That was Mallory Blackman with Chris Chibnall.
We can all tell which bits Chris Chibnall wrote.
Who wrote Rosa? Sorry?
Mallory Blackman. She co-wrote it with Chris Chibnall. Mallory Blackman is a really successful novelist. She wrote Noughts and Crosses and various things, but she is kind of a one-trick pony, and she's obsessed with racial issues, and she's a distinctive writer, and I think Doctor Who should have distinctive writers on them.
With a black man playing the Doctor, that sort of thing can be quite poignant and quite important to her writing. I think and a lot of people that I talk to that hate Chris Chibnall's era, like all of you do. Like Rosa is that one little gem in the one diamond in a load of shit that I recognize the sentiment, but I don't respect it. I think Ian's reaction, it's a terrible episode and an awful script.
It's awful.
But I'll say this about it. It was the very last time the general population responded to an episode of Doctor Who, had something to say about it. But she is just as Matthew Pounder says in the live chat, she's far too political. She's not in the problem with Mallory, and I've seen her interviewed. She seems like a really sweet woman, but she's not interested in writing Doctor Who. She's only interested in writing politics, and she saw an opportunity with a commission for Doctor Who to get in there and write something political and get it and gain exposure for her ideas to a larger audience, which is you know, at the end of the day, they offered it to her. How can I be angry at her for taking it when she? But that's why I think that people like that should be avoided. I mean, I haven't seen it in a while. I personally think it's awful, but other opinions are available. I
thought it was awful.
I think it's half a good story.
Not even that. Not even that. It's just absolutely ridiculous. It was one of the worst stories for Doctor Who ever written. It's ridiculous.
The space racist stuff was.
Yeah, it was rubbish. The whole episode was absolute rubbish. I couldn't believe it. And then the other one that followed that was rubbish. And I remember the end of that season. I was like, "That's it. I'm done. Not watching any more of this crap." And I didn't. So
I'm a lot more interested.
Let's keep it positive. Let's keep it positive.
I'm a lot more interested in this.
Five doctors.
I'm a lot more interested.
5 doctors.
I'm a lot more interested in this woman. This is Maxine Alderton. She was a writer for quite a long time on stuff like Emmerdale and crime dramas and lots of stuff for radio and things. But she had the misfortune to write under Chris Chibnall as well. She wrote The Haunting of Villa Diodati and Village of the Angels. Again, both hardly tentpole episodes of Doctor Who, but they had a grasp of character. They had a flavour of Doctor Who about them and a sense of real jeopardy and menace. If you want to talk about the Chibnall era, James, I see something again, kind of like with Pete. I think Pete is a TV professional and he's run shows. He's run several shows. He's proven. This is somebody who's a little younger and who'd been a staff writer on things. She gets a break on Doctor Who, and it's under the worst possible production team. I'd be open for somebody like her to come back because I think there's talent there. Just see what I'm saying?
Yeah. I like The Haunting. Well, I like the premise. It was very atmospheric.
There was something there, wasn't there?
Yeah, I never saw the other one because I didn't watch Flux, so I'd have to take your word for it on there. But yeah, again, it's just the misfortune of being under the Chibnall effect.
Yeah. See, I'm thinking of people they could potentially work with, people they could mould, but they could bring something out of them who wouldn't have had a chance to thrive, really. And again, I also think of this writer. She is. She wrote for two episodes under Stephen Moffat. This is Sarah Dollard, who wrote Face the Raven and Thin Ice. Again, I really like Thin Ice. A lot of people have a problem with that. I think it's fine, but it's full of distinctive touches. I think nice characterization, and it's set in an interesting time in history too. And the same with Face the Raven. And Face the Raven had some beautiful scenes and some great character moments between the Doctor and Clara. I think this woman can actually write characters pretty well, and that Moffat could temper, because she's a little political as well, but I think Moffat tempered her quite well, Sarah.
Yeah, well, I was always surprised that Moffat let her write, Clara's big exit in inverted commas, because it's usually the showrunner that.
I think he was tired.
But she did a beautiful job with their relationship, and again, I like the magic and the trap street. I thought was a wonderful idea. I definitely think she's got promise. Yeah, I like Thin Ice as well. I'm a sucker for historicals. I can't help it. But yeah, she's actually, now you've said it. Yeah, I would like to see her return.
I think that's pretty much the last pick that I can think of. But if you've got any ideas out there, people watching across YouTube, Facebook, and on Rumble, let us know in the comments section and get back to us with your picks. And maybe between us, we can come up with the ideal bench there for who we'd like to see on Doctor Who. James, thank you so much for your company, mate. I'm glad you could spend this evening with us going through all of that.
It's always a pleasure to be here, guys. Honestly, this absolutely kicked off my 4 days off work the right way. So I thank you all so much.
Hope you've got some great plans for the weekend, and we can tempt you back with a little more there. But yeah, we can. People can hear more from you on the Who Addicts channel. Have you got anything coming up?
It's been a pretty dead channel lately, guys. I'm sorry about that. I've just
But
been
there's some good
extremely
stuff.
busy.
There's some good stuff people can go back to.
Yeah. I've just been extremely busy with work and whatnot, but I do intend to come back with a bang at some point. So yeah, just watch this space.
Stay tuned, everybody. Watch out for the bang when James Wilson and the Hoodix channel blazes black. Blazes black. Back to Shooty again.
It'll blaze every colour. Every colour.
More. Thanks for your company, James. We hope to see you again soon, mate. Good night.
All right. Bye-bye. Good night, guys.
Bye, James. Good night, love.
Bye-bye.
See ya. And there were 4.
Yes, and that wraps that one up. God, this, so the breaking news about the Blu-ray set did sort of move things around a little bit. We've been going for quite a long time, so I think that must wrap up the stream for now, guys. Thank you so much for your company. Let's go and see what's going on in the live chat and what people think of all of that before we head off. We've got several comments here about some of the suggestions that we've made. Maxine Alderton's Village of the Angels. Peter Harrington says the village was promising, but went tee up. It really did. It really did. And Crimpling Doubloon says that Maxine Alderton's dialogue was good, but I felt her storylines were misguided. I wonder by... And this is the thing. This is the thing. I feel that to get these people away from that man working with somebody who is more experienced and just better at mentoring people and getting in at the goals, Sarah, the way he did with Matt Jones.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Lots of fans of Wentworth popping up in the live chat. I'm glad it's not just me. And lots of other, Rosa. Rosa's not got many fans.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Rosa
Prisoner sounds like 8 rules. So does Lee. So it'd probably be there. Yeah. Absolutely wonderful stuff. Genuine TV gold. If you've never seen it, get hold of Wentworth or Prisoner Cell Block H, and you won't go far wrong. Okay, now before we wrap up, no time for any pretty pictures, everybody. But let's do some links instead. It's been a good one. Thanks for your company, Sarah. It's great to have you back after a few weeks. And so what are your plans for the weekend? Anything Doctor Who related? You going to watch anything? Going to read anything?
I haven't got anything Doctor Who related as such.
There isn't anything.
No. I'm going to do what Ian's done, and I'm going to pre-order my box.
What are you rewatching?
Yes! I've got a big gala day thing I've got to go to with my son because he's playing football. He's going to be there all day, if the weather holds. That's it really. Not very excited, I know.
Crimpling Doubloon stands up for Thin Ice. He thought that was good as well. Peter Harrington says that Face the Raven was great, but the aftermath. Oh no. Mark Milford asks about Andrew Cartmel. He was a script editor who rewrote many episodes. I think Andrew sort of deserves an honorary mention in this regard. And again, a man who's very successful writing his own novels. I'd like to see him write for Doctor Who properly, but maybe it's just not on his radar anymore. Maybe he feels like he's done with Doctor Who. I'm surprised somebody must have asked him, I'd say. I think it's the amount of events that he does, it's quite likely. And Will Hadcroft's in the live chat. Good to see you there, Will. And we've got lots of goodbyes and good nights and all that kind of thing. Yes, so that wraps it up for this edition of Type 40 Live. We'll be back again with more soon enough. Don't you worry about all of that. It's Doctor Who's 60th anniversary year. We're a little jaded, generally speaking, but the gold, the TV gold we've had confirmed as joining us on Blu-ray in the form of season 20. I think that's perked us up a little. Yes. They really need to deliver now. We need to get that trailer. If they can't make it for Comic-Con, give us something else. The people who are never going to be at Comic-Con anyway, what about the general public who don't even know that Comic-Con is a thing? They matter too, Russell. Let's have a trailer. Come on, Bad Wolf. Come on, BBC Studios. Come on, Disney Plus. Let's take the cap off this now. Let us know what you think of all of this through Instagram and Twitter at Type40 Doctor Who. That's our social media. That's where you can get hold of us. And we'll be popping out again at the same time next week for more of the same here at Type 40 Live. Ian, thanks again for tonight. You're still buzzing from the news.
Yeah.
I've just while you were talking, I've just ordered it. So,
Have you did?
you know what I mean? So
Brilliant.
because I didn't know it was you could order it. I didn't know that. I mean, because I've been out of everything to do with Doctor Who recently because I've been working so much. But I just went on Amazon now and I've just ordered it. So bring it on.
I think watch party at Ian's house.
Absolutely, you're all invited.
with jam tarts.
Yeah, exactly.
Jam tarts are absolutely essential. Well, this is it. I mean, these things get released, and even though we don't know when we're going to get it exactly, get your pre-ordering now, and that way, you're not going to get disappointed. You're not going to get scalped. You're not going to have that problem at all those months into the future. Now, yes, please like the video if you haven't already. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the cloister bell to get all the notifications about what's going on next and
comment.
when we're doing it.
Yeah,
drop us some comments. About all of it. Let us know your picks. Which writers would you bring back to the show? Previous writers under Russell T Davies, under Stephen Moffat, even under Chris Chibnall, and anybody from the classic series who you think they could and should bring in from the cold. What about Mark Platt? He's still around. He's still banging it out. I'm sure he could come up with something really imaginative. Not banging it out like that. No laughing at the back. God bloody hell. Mark Platt's a man of age.
So many double entendres
on this show. Yeah, so let us know. What about Shooty there at the Barbie film? What about his choice of attire? Are you going to go and see the Barbie film?
At least he didn't
anyway?
show that red thing that he was wearing. Oh my god.
And that's coming up next. That's coming up next week. I don't want to talk about that. That's coming up next week. So let us know what you're going to do with the Barbie movie, and what's the running? What do you think will be the running time? How many minutes on screen will Shooty Gatwa actually be in the Barbie movie? And then there's the Blu-rays too, of course. How thrilled are you? Are you as pleased as us to be adding season 20 to your Blu-ray collection whenever it comes, whenever it drops in through the people from Amazon or HMV or wherever you're going to order it
now,
from?
so they've got to give me my product. They got to give it to me now. So
we always have the time if you have the space here at Type 40 Live. Thanks for your company for this one. We'll see you all again for the next one. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.